Greetings, everyone. Welcome back to the show. This is a live stream we're doing again with Victor-Hugo Vaca Jr., who is a modern art gonzo journalist and political dissident. I also want to mention real quick that this episode is brought to you by Carmine, which is my wellness supplement line, and it's a great way to support the show. Victor-Hugo, how you been? It's been maybe about a week or two since we last spoke.
Yes. Do I look all blurry? The last time I was on the show, the audience was saying that I had a condom over the camera. That's not the case. It seems like you've got that figured out.
Yeah, it looks. You know what? It was the software that I'm using. They wanted. So I don't ever do live streams. It's pretty rare actually. And so they wanted you to make the upgrade. So I wasn't aware that I had to go pay for some upgrade in order to get a higher resolution. So that's why it looked blurry as it did. But that being said, it looks clear now. So it looks like we are rocking and rolling. A lot of interesting things have transpired, and I know one of the main topics that you wanted to touch on is the mutinous sentiment that exists in the Navy amongst these carrier groups or these ships. Obviously, you and I were both in the Navy, and I'm happy to share my take on some of the characters that I got to interact with. But perhaps you could start us off situating us pertaining to this toxic leadership and kind of tying it in with your experience.
Yeah, this actually reminds me of what happened in the infamous class of 1993, where I had Carter Page was one of my superior midshipman officers. So there were a lot of notoriety going on in that particular classroom. It made world headlines. This was before the internet. And what was happening was that the midshipman officers were being tortured. They called it hazing, horseplay, and hijinks, but they were also sexual assaults and rape of the midshipman officers. And that's when I realized, wow, wait a minute, this is supposed to be the world's premier leadership laboratory for like admirals and vice admirals and the people that are in charge of the lives of those who are right now fighting for the central bankers in Israel. So it's no surprise to me that they're threatening mutiny now because the people are being left hungry. They're forced to eat potato chips for food. Also, I've seen the photos and the videos of that they're able to get out, which they have to do undercover because otherwise they could be brought up for a court martial. They're not supposed. Even when I was there, this was back in the day. Really, I couldn't get any information out through internet because they were checking that just like they're checking now. I had to wait till I went on leave to mail with the postage stamp, snail mail, a letter to my congressman, Gary L. Ackerman, to inform him of what was going on. And then finally, the congressman asked for an investigation, and that's how that got out. So these people are making up fake accounts. I don't know how they're getting around the intelligence that's in the Navy, that they're able to show that there's no toilet paper, the toilets are all backed up, the showers aren't working. I mean, it's not safe. And what was weird was, I don't know if you remember, but anybody who's been in the military, I spent days, quite literally, hours and days, shining my shoes. Cleaning had to be with a white glove. They would inspect every part of the room. You couldn't have what they call dust bunnies anywhere. So the fact that they're now showing these videos of the unhygienic, which is unsafe, because these people could get sick from the disgusting way that they're leaving the bathrooms and showers and everything, it's just incredible. That would never fly during indoctrination. But now it's going as if it's situation normal. They're left without toilet paper. The women have no tampons, and the care packages that the families are sending are not getting to the people. So the people are asking their families for help because the US government, the taxpayers, are funding this, and they're not helping them out. But what they are doing is they're sending tens of billions of dollars to the Ukraine, to Israel, and they're helping all these illegal aliens who came through the border during the Biden administration. And mind you, the military is supposed to be at home to safeguard our borders. Where were they during the entire Biden administration when millions of invaders came in? And again, where are they now? So there's false flags about to happen. Everybody is on edge. And yet the military is out everywhere but safeguarding the United States. This is a real problem, and nobody's talking about it. The media is whitewashing it like they always do, which we'll get to after you share a little bit about what happened to you in the military. Because, I mean, have you seen the conditions in the bathrooms there? Would that have been allowed while you were in the
Prob-
military?
Probably. I got out in June. I think it was May of 2019, and I can attest to some of the stuff that I saw and witnessed as it relates to leadership, in particular the tranche of students that I was in training with, so to speak. I don't know where they're at now. Presumably they're in the special warfare community. I can attest to that being the case. I'll start off with I initially tried out for a special warfare program in the Navy. Didn't work out. But one of the things that I observed was the dog eat dog nature of some of the people going in, and how incredibly selfish and conceited a number of these people were. And these are people that end up going on into the special warfare community. Some of these are officers, some of these are enlisted men. There are surprisingly a lot of bad out. I feel like certain ratings that one goes into, for those not familiar, certain jobs in the Navy, and it's not just the Navy, it could be a lot of these different branches, attract a certain element. And it was very alarming to me, Victor-Hugo, when you think of the military, you think of, kind of camaraderie, you think of, kind of brotherly love, if you want to call it that, or what have you. And, I suspect that this is the case with other programs. This was the case for me, is that is not the case, at least in some of these training programs. And as far as conditions go, I was at stationed on the Naval Amphibious Base in Coronado, California, and the bathrooms are an absolute shit show. The place looks like something out of Mad Max. I don't know how it looks now, but it's looked like that for years. I was in Naval Air Station Lemoore for a period of time, which, for those who don't know, is out in the boonies in California. And you're out there, and it literally looks like something out of a post-apocalyptic scene. I get the whole premise behind, hey, it's the military. It doesn't need to look pretty. There needs to be some humanizing factor to it, because it looks like shit. And it was, I'm trying to, where am I getting at with this? To your point, a lot of money is being siphoned away to other areas, to other countries, and not to our own people. And then you touch on, kind of bouncing around a bit, you touch on the immigration topics as well. And of course, that is by design, as I have spoken about ad nauseum to my folks and to family members and people that I know, which, is a whole nother tangent I don't want to go on right now per se. We can, and then also I'm looking at the comments here. We're getting a bunch of comments, so we'll have to tie it in here. But I can totally attest to that. And that's America. So I can only attest to how it is in developing countries, or in other countries. And I'll also remember I worked with, I think he was an HM1, so hospitalman first class that I was a corpsman. And I just remember him saying that if you only knew how incompetent, he told me this because I was an HM3, he's an HM3 white. If you only knew how incompetent, people were, what you'd see out at sea, or what you'd see, he said, it'd blow your mind. And then he juxtaposed that with how other countries are, where if you fuck up or deviate in other countries, they will literally beat the shit out of you, of course. I mean, especially in some of these third world countries, and I know in their militaries, they have far less of the same curriculum and things in place as far as safeguards go. So it was eye opening. And this is not coming from someone who's, I'm not going to be like some of these talking heads where they posture themselves as having done this badass thing or that. That's not me. I'm not ever going to pretend to have done anything remotely like that. I was in for a brief period, and I got a glimpse of that. So I can only imagine that in your experience, these people who end up rising to power, they're shitty leaders. And those are the people that get promoted, just like in the media. I don't go off on a tangent here, but I'll touch on just like people in media, financiers, all these people, they're all part of the same clique, the transnational clique. Human trafficking, drug trafficking, all this stuff. Nobody cares about it. And these are the institutions that people lean on for healthcare, your history, your law, the judicial system, the bureaucracy. I mean, it's crazy. I'll wrap it up there, but there are some comments here. We'll get to here after you, Victor-Hugo.
My God, I'm shocked. It was not like that at the U.S. Naval Academy. I can assure you of that. In the class of 1993, if the bathrooms were not spotless, everybody would have to clean them. And we had daily inspections. We had surprise inspections. Again, they would put on a white glove and they would come in and they would check. And if you did not have a spotless room, if your the bed sheets were not done properly with folded corners and everything, you would lose your liberty or you would be punished and sent to march and stuff like that. So what you just described is something I didn't experience. That's why I'm shocked to see the condition of the bathrooms right now. I don't know if it's because they were grooming us to become naval officers. It was at the time, I don't believe it's like that now, but at the time it was like called the elite leadership laboratory of the world. But what I noticed was that this was back before the don't ask, don't tell. Now, not only are gays allowed in there, but you're also able to have people like Rachel Levine, who was the healthcare administrator, a guy in a dress. I mean, just absolute insanity. That wouldn't have flown when I was there. But what I did notice was that a lot of the superior officers that I had, they were homosexual. It was like, I have pretty good radar, plus their voices were strange, and they were asking people to do gay stuff. And I don't know how they were. I mean, the only way they could have been in there was, and this is what I'm starting to realize now, there's a lot of homosexuals in the military, and they do it not just for pleasure, but also for power. So they wanted to see how much they could get you to do, because their motto was, if I ask you to jump, don't ask me why, just ask me how high. So they would ask people to do sexual things. And I remember I was always like, listen, I didn't join for this. I, that's not what I joined this for. So because I wouldn't follow orders, because I was a guy who knew how to say no, I was always punished. I would lose my liberty on weekends. I would be marching in the rain and the snow and the freezing weather. But I was like, listen, I'm not doing gay stuff, and I'm not doing anything that is. They wanted me, and I know people. They say this is, this never happened. I wonder how these people claim to know more about my life than I do. They asked me to kill my roommate Thomas Vallow because he was the weakest link in the chain. And I remember telling them I thought we were supposed to never leave any man behind. And also, what it was they wanted me to do the dirty work. I've been trying to find Thomas Vallow. I don't even know if this guy's alive. I've never seen anybody tortured like that, mentally and physically. This guy was 98 pounds soaking wet. The only reason he got in was because his father was a high ranking Air Force officer. And so, again, it's not always on merit, it's who you know. So he should never have been allowed in there to begin with because, yeah, he was smart. And part of getting into the Naval Academy was that you had to have a higher than average intelligence. They said it was harder to get into Harvard, or it was harder to get into the Naval Academy than Harvard or Yale the year that I was in there. And people who say, oh, that's not true. Well, the evidence is out there. It was the commanding officer that gave the speech, the initiation speech, and he said that. So the video's out there. You can see it for yourself. All these people who are controlled opposition, their job is to sow doubt. They don't care about the facts because they know that most people are too lazy or too ignorant or just can't find the evidence, even though it's out there. But their job is to just sow doubt. And so they don't care about the facts. But most of the people in your audience are open-minded, critical thinkers who can find this stuff out there for themselves. You can find a lot of this information at my website, victorhugocollection.com. Just go to in the news. I've actually saved the newspaper reports because the history of what really happened there has been somehow obliterated from the internet. You won't find but a handful of articles. All the rest of them are gone, but they're on my website, victorhugocollection.com, in the news section. So, they also wanted me to kill my mother during one of my leaves. And I remember, I mean, I can never forget these things because I was telling the guy, I thought he was kidding. I go, well, why would I kill her? And again, he was like, don't ask me why, just ask me how high if I tell you to jump. And so I kept going back and forth with him saying, well, what did she do? Did she commit treason? Is there like a reason that you want me to kill her? He's like, no, 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 you can, we want to see if you could do it. You can poison her, you can come back, we'll cover for you. I was like, okay. So then I started realizing, again, a lot of this stuff comes with age when you start realizing, okay, why did they ask me to do that? I realized there's a blood sacrifice. So if you want the power and you want to move up, same in Hollywood, same in the music industry, you have to sell your soul. And usually it comes with getting rid of somebody in your family. So these people, I started realizing, okay, not only are they homosexuals, but they're also psychopaths. And like you said, a lot of them are narcissists. So that's what we're being led by in the military. That's why I'm not surprised that they're threatening mutiny right now and why the military is in such disarray, because we're being led by psychopathic, homosexual, narcissistic, top tier, toxic leadership who they're hiding the truth from their own people. They're hiding the truth from the public using people in journalism who, Mike Wilson was the guy who wrote the article, Diary of a Year in Hell, for the Miami Herald. You could look him up. When I gave him my diary and I gave him all the information so he could do like a total expose, probably the military wouldn't be the way it is now if he had actually done his job as a journalist and exposed this. But when I saw the article, it was ridiculous. They were making it seem, and to this day, people still think that I quit, and that the reason I quit was because I was being harassed and taunted, and they were making fun of my name. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. First of all, I didn't quit. I actually made it all the way to the end. I could have stayed. They wanted me to stay. I have the letters there on my website. You could see from high ranking officers who were like, we made a mistake with this guy. This is the kind of guy that we need, somebody with integrity, somebody with courage. And we're losing one of the good guys. Now, the reason they said that was because over 30 people witnessed the sexual assault of a female midshipman by high ranking midshipman officers. I was the only one who spoke out on her behalf. They almost let the whole case slide because they said she was lying about it. And I couldn't believe it when I was called in and they said, listen, you're the only one who's corroborating her story. Are you sure you didn't just imagine it? And I was like, no, I remember her screams. I remember everybody laughing. There were a lot of people involved in this. A lot of people witnessed this. And mind you, these are all midshipman officers. They weren't enlisted. They were people that were probably right now in command of people in the Middle East that are being asked to sacrifice their lives. So then I realized, wow, there's at least 29 people among me that are traitors, that are willing to sacrifice one of their own. I mean, again, you're not supposed to leave behind a brother or sister in arms. And yeah, I said the truth. And that's what blew up the whole thing. Because if I would have just lied, forget it. I would have probably been elevated, because that's how you apparently move up in ranks, is if you're willing to lie, sell your soul, sacrifice a family member or your own brother in arms, my own roommate, if I could have killed him. And I remember asking him, I was like, listen, man, because they would come in and they would torture the guy. In the middle of the night, they would have these, they call them keg. No, I went through several keg parties, which were not drinking. They would have us wear several jogging outfits. So I would look like the Michelin Man because I would have to borrow other people's outfits. And then they would put us into the laundry room while the dryers were going on. In the heat of the summer, there was no air conditioning in there. And we would have to put these kegs, which were like 30 to 50 pound kegs, over our heads while we were jogging in place until we passed out. And the night that I witnessed the sexual assault, I'll never forget it. It was a freak show. The guy next to me, he passed out and started having an epileptic fit. The stupid midshipman officer who was demanding that he continue to just get up, yelling at him, get up, get up. He starts putting his finger in the guy's mouth. I'm like, listen, he's going to bite your finger off. You need to put like a pencil or something in his mouth. And he's like, shut up. Nobody told you to talk. I'm like, these people are idiots, man. The guy's having an epileptic fit. He's putting his finger in the guy's mouth. I'm like, he's going to bite his finger off. He's having an epileptic fit next to me. The officers are like screaming at me. I'm still doing this. A girl's getting sexually assaulted, handcuffed to a urinal. Everybody's laughing. She's screaming. The guy next to me is like foam coming out of his mouth. Another reason why that was such a important investigation was because it turns out that the guy who had the epileptic fit, his father happened to be either a congressman or a senator or somebody that was important. So it was like, holy cow, that night was bad. And I was the only one. And I had a knife to my throat and a gun to my head because while they were giving Thomas Vallow they would put a bunch of quarters and coins in socks. They called them a sock party, and a Mack truck too. So they would come in with a mag light, and they would pin you down to the bed. So you couldn't move you were like you couldn't move. Somebody was on top of you, and there was a mag light right in your eye. So you all you saw was like a bright white light. And then they put a gun to my head and a knife to my throat, and they said, "Listen, if you talk about anything, if you say what you saw, we're going to throw you off an aircraft carrier or shove you into the engine of an F-14. We're going to wipe your guts off the side of the aircraft carrier, and your parents are going to get a folded flag delivered in a wooden box, and they're going to be told that you died honorably in the line of duty." That was what they told me while they were beating the hell out of Thomas Vallow, and he was screaming and crying. He was begging for help. So I was like, I couldn't help him. I was freaking with the gun to my head and a knife to my throat. So those are the people that are in charge. So if you're going to let your kids go into the draft, realize they're not there to protect you. They're being controlled by psychopaths who will quite literally, to test them, ask them to kill you. They asked me to kill my mother. So, yeah, there's no honor in the US military, from what I know, at the highest levels. And so I tried warning people, because I quite literally gave my diary to Mike Wilson of the Miami Herald. He whitewashed the story. When I asked him why he whitewashed it and made it claim that it was hijinks, horseplay, I said, dude, that was rape, man. What are you talking about? He says, oh, well, the Naval Intelligence told me that the story was getting too big, and they told me to squash the story. I couldn't believe he told me that. So then the story died. It just went away. But it was all over the place. It was in all the newspapers, front page headlines. Washington Post, New York Times. It was making world headlines. And then, just like the Epstein, it disappeared. And so what I noticed after that was then he became editor at the New York Times. And then he became editor of the Dallas newspaper. And I think now he's editor of something, the Miami Herald or something now. But he got rewarded for that. So that's what happens to these people, these so-called journalists. They get rewarded for playing their part as disinformation agents. They'll give you part of the truth. Yeah, they said some of the truth in that article, but they left out the important parts. If hijinks and horseplay is rape, then we got a problem. And these people were being tortured. I witnessed it. I was being tortured, but I was able to handle it. A lot of people are like, oh my God, you quit. No. The people who say that, who are hiding behind fake names and avatars, they've probably never even been in the military. And if they went through half of what I went through, they'd be dead. Because you should have seen, there were these huge football players that made it in because of their scholarships, because they were able to, because it was a big competition between Army, Navy. And they would come up to me crying. They were like, Victor, how are you getting through this, man? I can't do this. I'm quitting. I'm leaving tomorrow. I'm quitting. I was like, man, no, you got to stay, man. You got to stay. And they were like, no, man, fuck this. I'm out of here. Yeah. So these huge guys, football players, would quit. As a matter of fact, I was in there with the guy from the San Antonio Spurs. He was my classmate in that class. They called him the Admiral. So yeah, I mean, I was in a very, very famous 19 class of 1993. A lot of things came out of there. Myself, the guy from the San Antonio Spurs, I think his name was Robinson, and Carter Page. So nothing is by chance, nothing is by coincidence. If anybody actually decides to investigate that, they'll see that some very strange things happened at the U.S. Naval Academy in 1993, and now they've changed everything. Like the requirements are piss poor now. You can be low IQ, you can be a weakling, you can be gay, which is not a good place for people to be if you're in a submarine for 6 months underneath the uh, Arctic. And yeah, it's a mess. The United States is in a mess. They're sending soldiers out to die because they're being led by toxic leadership, and nobody's reporting about this. They want everybody to believe that the U.S. military is the best in the world. No, I'm telling you right now, it's not.
I hear you loud and clear. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if China is, or one of these other nations in some respects. I mean, obviously we have an advantage as it relates to, I would say, some of the technology that we have. I mean, we certainly spend an enormous sum of our finances, if you want to even call it that, concerning, warfare. The department. I love how they also changed it from Department of Defense, Department of War. That's a whole nother topic. You mentioned about the sexual assault going on in the military, and then all of these other midshipmen people participating in it. I mean, I can't help but think of all these other, secret societies, and that's a great way to inculcate people and to keep people in such a way where no one's going to rat on anybody else, right? Because if you were part of this, you were aware of it, you took part in it, just like, blackmail stuff, that's a great way to control people. So I can't help but think of that. And then the trauma ties in. I saw Emma Catherine was popping on the chat of the Imagination podcast, which I encourage people to check out. That's probably a better resource than most of these sons of bitches who create content out there in alternative media. That's a whole other topic. But yes, all the secret societies, and I get a kick out of it. And I'm trying to be mindful. I mean, I recognize I have a pretty small platform, but so I'm trying to be careful with names, I guess, going forward, just being aware of that as I enter more aboard this is like great content. But I'm just blown away, just to touch on, people don't understand, like your average layperson has no clue how people got into positions of power or an authority, or how deviant some of these people are. I'm not saying everybody, but I'd say at the very highest levels, it is compromised. And there's a guy on radio. I guess he goes on Fox News a bit. He's got a conservative centric radio show. He brings on different political people. He's getting big up there. He's been on for some time. I think he used to do sports. And somebody had told me that during when the Epstein stuff was being covered, how he didn't want to cover it, and he made it known to his audience. And I'm thinking, you son of a bitch, you're keeping people in the theater, you're keeping people in the kayfabe. So when I hear all these people talk about, I don't mean to go off on a monologue here, Democrats, Republicans, instantly I know, boom, they are still in the matrix. I can't take these people seriously, and it just blows my mind how these people are just propagated up. I mean, I feel like I've been censored. It's very discouraging for those who are just curious. If you start a show, don't cover these topics. You will be shadowed. Sometimes, I'm going off on a tangent here, so let's get back to what you're getting at. But yeah,
Well,
no, it doesn't surprise me.
I encourage people to cover these topics because when history is actually written about, these are the shows that will be remembered. The other shows, they're all a dime a dozen. They all read off the same script, but we're actually the pioneers in this realm. We're doing something that nobody dares to do, which is to tell the truth. In a world where lies have become normalized, the truth tellers are shadow banned and we are vilified. But the truth always shines through. That's the whole thing. So I'm not worried. I know that I'm being shadow banned. I mean, it's so obvious. And the funny thing is I'm being shadow banned on a channel called BitChute. where Ray Vahey, the CEO of it, had Laura Loomer put on his board of advisors. And then he went on Stu Peters' show, and he even told me he'd have me on his show or come on my show. And I said, listen, like, why is it that after I posted a report about the clear and present danger of people in the Senate and the Congress and the White House and highest positions, even in the military, having dual citizenship with Israel, and that their loyalty was to Israel first. The moment that that happened, I was averaging 100,000 views per show. This was back years ago, before I even had close to, I have like 6,000 subscribers now. The number hasn't moved. And back then I was averaging 100,000 views. You can verify it for yourself. Just go to my channel on BitChute. I think it's Maverick Artist Victor-Hugo. You'll see with almost 6,000 subscribers now, I get less than 120 views per video. That means with subscribers, that means like they get notified through email when I post a new video. That means like less than 0.01% actually bother. So why are they subscribed to my channel? and then I contact Ray Vahey, and I think I even sent it to you because I CC people on this because I want other journalists to know what's going on. So I CC'd Stu Peters. Because Stu Peters had him on his show where he was like, oh, listen, if anybody has evidence that their videos have been blocked, censored, or shadow banned, I'll pay you $10,000 because we are a free speech platform. So what do? I send them all the proof of the videos that he quite literally blocked. I screen save the video where it says blocked. I screen save the notice that I got that your video was censored. I screen save the emails that I sent to BitChute staff saying, why is my video censored? Sent them all that evidence, even made videos about it. To this day, he doesn't acknowledge it. So again, easy to say, oh, I'll give you $10,000 if you have the evidence. Well, I'm presenting the evidence. You're still going on other people's shows lying and telling them that you're a free speech platform when actually what you are is a honeypot. A honeypot, for those who don't know, is a place where you have people come into your channel. It's full of white supremacists and racists and just like it's a really toxic realm. I'm just in there again because as an investigative journalist, I'm uncovering that BitChute is a honeypot. So what they do is they have people like Laura Loomer on their board of advisors, and they check all the comments and they check all the videos. And when the Noahide laws come out, those people are going to get knocks on their doors. Yeah, well, we saw your channel and you have to have all these videos here about, blacks and about Jews and about anybody, and you're coming with us. So yeah, they're honeypots. That's what that is. They give you the illusion of free speech. They are tempting you to go ahead and put your videos up there so that they can round up these people afterwards. The same thing with FTJ Media, who they tried to get me into that. That literally is called FUCK, the Jews Media. So Dave Gahari, who was involved in an SEC like lawsuit and fraud and stuff, all these people have criminal backgrounds, by the way. So what ends up happening is the government says, hey, listen, you got a choice. We can either put you in prison for a while or we'll make you rich and famous. We need somebody to run a channel called FTJ Media, which again is FUCK, the Jews Media. So he contacts me. He's wooing me. I'm on the phone with him for a couple of hours. He's like, oh, look, we've got all the bells and whistles. We'd like you to have your show on our network. And, this, but you got to give me all your information. So I'm like, no, I'm not going to give you all my information. And plus I realized I don't want to be part of a channel called FTJ Media, FUCK, the Jews Media. I mean, can it be any more obvious? You know what I'm saying? I mean, what the heck? So, yeah. And then they just recently got taken off because they were committing fraud on their viewers. What they were doing is one of their hosts was telling the audience, hey, listen, if somebody donates to my channel or whatever, I'll double the donation. I will. Somehow it turned out so they had the person out there, an innocent person. All of a sudden, he starts making up these fake accounts and fake donations. So he donated $1,000. So the person donated $1,000. Then he kept testing and he went $2,000 the person. So eventually they found out that it was him who was donating to himself so that his subscribers, his loyal fans, the trusting public would double the donations. And then they got taken off the air because that's fraud. So I mean, there's just so much weird stuff going out there in the alternative news media. All I could tell you, Christian, is follow your instinct, keep doing what you're doing. The people are smart enough to realize who the truth tellers are and who the liars are because the truth is out there. So, yeah. And eventually, when people start realizing that lies have gotten us into this mess, it's guys like you, me, Michael Yon, and a handful of others, really, who will be able to. The cream always rises to the top, man. And your viewers here, I don't care if they think I'm being. I'm just telling it like it is. Okay, I'm just telling it like it is. This has nothing to do with ego here. I'm just telling you. Christian White's one of the good guys. So is Michael Yon, and you could take it or leave it if you think I am. I really don't care.
We're going to have some intelligence agency now send you a check here for your praise. By the way, I have not received a dime. I don't have any sponsors. I'm even sponsoring I even created my own company. I said, fuck it. I said, I don't have any sponsors. I'll just sponsor myself. So I'm literally created my own supplement line. And I've been spending a lot of time going down that because in some respects I wrestle with doing the show. Sometimes I feel like this is a fool's errand. This is, I'm doing this stuff publicly. Most people would, first of all, not even have a show, let alone even entertain these ideas. Again, when I started out, I was not aware of these topics and I did not intend to even cover them because I wasn't even aware of it. And you mentioned about the viewership thing here, not to beat a dead horse, but I had all the people that everyone else has on in media, all the big names, I better not name former CIA guys, people that used to be on cable television, people with big subscriberships. I'd bring them on my show, and I was getting great traction, great views. And then as soon as I started to just bring on different people to hear their take on things, their alternative take on things, all of a sudden, major drop. I was like, what the hell is going on here? I had over 100,000 one week. I mean, shit, I should be at over 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, have this massive apparatus. And then you have that moment you're like, wow, this shit's controlled.
Yes.
This shit is controlled and people don't get it. And what blows my mind, I'm trying not to cuss here because I'm just fired up about it, is that people will watch WAP, type in, if you want to be enlightened, ladies and gentlemen, type in WAP, and I'm trying to think of who the singer is. It's with, I think, Kylie Jenner.
Yeah.
So, yeah, pull that up. I'll let you figure out what WAP means for those tuning in. And then pull up. I know. We're trying to.
She was interviewed by Joe Biden.
Yeah.
And then exactly. She was interviewed by Erica Kirk.
Yeah. Yeah.
So these are the new heroes.
Yep. And then, Sam Smith, look at his latest views. Okay. Lil Nas, all of these people, they get so much traction. And then if you are like Victor-Hugo or I, or any of these other, and again, I'm not posturing myself as this or that, no views, no traction. Now, people don't give a shit. And I've really tried to hammer home. I was actually visiting my folks the other day. I was really making the argument for why I believe less bureaucracy. And I know I sound like some cuckoo, whatever person, but is because, and I was explaining to them, and I'll go on this quick tangent here, that the reason why we have to have all this bureaucracy, or particularly a lot of this law enforcement, is because people don't, by and large, have the means to self-defense. And I think that an armed society is a polite society. I genuinely believe that. You are not going to want to mess with someone if they're carrying something and they've trained themselves. I'm not saying anybody willy-nilly just walking around the street carrying a firearm. I'm not proposing that per se. But what I'm getting at is, obviously, most people are not aware that the people at the very top of our bureaucracy are the ones funneling all the drugs, are the ones behind the immigration, are behind the dialectic, creating all the
child trafficking
and the human trafficking. They're the ones doing it. And so what is crazy is how people try and address these other low-level criminals or whatever that you see on your local television. This person's doing this and that. Yeah, okay, yeah, they're doing criminal things. I'm not condoning that. But what people don't realize is it's your own fucking government. They're the criminals. They're the fucking criminals.
Yeah, but the thing is, the way that they are able to get away with what they're doing is because they have their minions, which is what the whole Project Pogo deepfake revolution is. The criminals at the top, they don't do the crimes. They get their minions in the US military, they get their minions in the police force. I just sent an email out today to a guy named William DeBilzen in Delray Beach, Florida, who happens to be friends with General Michael Flynn. Now, I filmed an award winning movie called Crackhead Jesus the Movie in his gallery. For those who think Crackhead Jesus is blasphemy, realize it's not. It's based on an actual court case that was presided over by Judge Donald W. Heffiel, who was the pedophile enabler with the Epstein case. When John Acosta was the prosecuting attorney, and he gave Epstein the ability to just stay at a halfway house where during the day he was pedophiling and at night he would go rest on taxpayer dime at a halfway house. So when I confronted the judge, Donald W. Heffiel, he told me that if I talked about, wrote about, or used his name or likeness, because I was making a documentary film called The Marketing of Peace, he said he would hold me in contempt of court and throw me in jail. So that's how I became a modern art gonzo journalist, because I went home, I prayed, I asked God for divine inspiration. He said, he never told you couldn't paint about it. Keep a diary of your world on canvas. And that's when I immediately painted the story of the Crackhead Jesus trials with the judge, the bailiff, the court reporter, the witness, the lawyer, and the whole story is there. If you want to see it, I'm giving it away for free. It's at my website, Victor-Hugo collection.com. Go to the in the news section and you'll just type in the story of the Crackhead Jesus trials. I also made it into an award-winning film because I was getting death threats from these satanic Christians who would come up to me on the street and they'd be like, "Oh, you're the guy who made Crackhead Jesus the movie. I ought to kick your effing ass for saying that about my Lord and Savior." I was like, whoa, 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 hold on a second. What would Jesus do? I don't remember a part in the New Testament where Jesus went around kicking people's ass, you know? I mean, yeah, he overturned some tables and stuff like that, but he wasn't running around like Kung Fu Jesus, you know? So anyway, long story short, I filmed that movie, a scene with the serial killer, because it's also about my relationship with the serial killer spinal surgeon named Dr. Charles C. Edwards, who works for Mercy Hospital in Baltimore, Maryland. These people are all connected, by the way. And he was showing me how to be a serial killer. He goes, "Victor, first thing you got to do is you got to go make sure you meet with all the top attorneys in whatever town you're going to be killing people in. Because this way you can conflict of interest yourself out and make sure that every best attorney is on your side." And then he was telling me about how after surgery, because he was world famous spinal surgeon, he's the guy who invented the spinal screw. You could look him up. It's in the movie that I plan on making called Crackhead Jesus the Movie. There's a scene that was documented in People magazine where he describes doing surgery on a patient. The patient was on its side, somehow held up this way and held up that way. So he says he could see right through to the other side and see the other surgeon right through the person's guts because they were doing this experimental surgery. He's the guy who invented the spinal screw. But he explained to me that the way that you were able to get away with murder is, first of all, like pedophiles choose to be gym teachers or school teachers. They go where the kids are, you know? And serial killers, they become nurses or doctors or cops or military personnel where they encourage that sort of behavior, you know? So he would talk to me about how, well, one time he was, I can't make this stuff up. I'm not that talented, okay? But I've had like a very interesting life and I share it with the public in my writing and in my art and in my films. So he says he had just finished doing surgery. And what he would go, he would wash his hands. And then as he left the hospital, he would put on surgical gloves. And nobody really paid attention because he's a doctor walking out of the hospital with surgical gloves. So nobody really thought anything of it. So he's driving home to have dinner with his wife because she made dinner for him. This is obviously like before cell phones and stuff like that, okay? So he would buy all these tenement houses, and you could read about this too. All this stuff is on my website. Go to victorhugocollection.com, type in Dr. Charles C. Edwards serial killer. These people brag about it. They're narcissists. They know they could get away with it. He told me, because Victor, you can always get away with murder in the United States because you could always count on cops being overworked, underpaid, and lazy, and you could count on lawyers being greedy. So I was like, whoa, man, holy cow. I'm like, why are you telling me all this? He goes, because I want to be immortalized. I want you to write my story. I go, well, why are you not going to kill me? I go, I got to contact the FBI. I got to tell the police about this. He goes, they're not going to listen to you, Victor. They're going to think you're crazy. Lo and behold, I contacted the FBI. And when I reported it to the FBI guy says, well, do you have any footage? I go, what, of him murdering people? They go, yeah, do you have any footage of that? I go, wouldn't that make me an accomplice? I'd be making snuff films. So that's when I realized, holy cow, all right, I'm dealing with like a whole nother level of idiocracy here, where the FBI expects me to be following a serial killer around with a camera filming him. I mean, give me a break. Then I went to, talk about how everything is all connected. Scott Israel was the chief of police in North Bay Village, where this building, the Grandview Palace, was, where I lived, and I was the Homeowners Association president alongside Dr. Charles C. Edwards and his son. So they always overruled me because it was 2-1. That's how a democracy works, by the way. Okay. So the elevators weren't working. There were so many things that were dangerous in the building. I remember being in an elevator. This is a high rise building, and it would fall several stories. If you've ever been in an elevator and have it fall like 20 stories, it's terrifying. And that would happen almost on a daily basis in that building. What happened was he would buy these buildings and he would booby trap them, or he would hope that they would be booby trapped so that people would die and then the insurance would cover it. Because that's how, all right, it gets even weirder, people. So I go to Scott Israel, who was the guy who was in charge of the investigation during that school shooting in Parkland, the Parkland school massacre. And he's the guy who was up there with Hillary Clinton saying that we need to get rid of the guns. Okay. And that was the Parkland school shooting where the police were standing outside, just like they were in Texas when the kids were being shot. All the police were armed to the teeth, but none of them went in. They were smoking outside. They were talking while the kids were being murdered. These are your police. So Scott Israel, I gave him all the evidence that I had. Unfortunately, they were making a documentary about me at the time, so somebody was following me with the camera. So they witnessed me bring him the evidence that I had against Dr. Charles C. Edwards. And then a week later, they contact me. They say, oh, we lost the evidence. I said, well, how did that happen? I literally had a camera crew with me and we gave you the evidence. Anyway, that's how this stuff happens. They all work together. It turns out that he was on the payroll of Dr. Charles C. Edwards, which is why he was able, women were telling me, because he was the owner of the building, he had the keys, and men would tell me this too. They said they would wake up in the morning and they would find him in the kitchen. And some of the women sometimes slept nude. So they were like, I would walk out and he's there and he's just, staring at me and smiling at me. And then he would just walk out. And then, of course, it was their word against his. Because if they called the police, first of all, Scott Israel was in on it. And then there was no proof. So, by the way, you're not allowed to do that. Even if you're the landlord, you got to give written notice. I think it's like 24 or 48 hours. You can't just like go into people's places. And the men were weirded out too. Anyway, this is the mentality of a serial killer. He says, okay, I left my job. I went to this tenement house in New Jersey because he owned places, broken down buildings in a bunch of different places throughout the United States. He said this crackhead owed him money. So what he did was he parked his car, walked up the stairs because he knew that the elevator was deadly, walked up 7 flights, knocked on the guy's door. The guy looked through his peephole. The moment that he opened the door, he grabbed him by the throat with his surgical gloves on, pushed him out the window, threw him out the window. Then he walked back down, got into his car, went home, and had dinner with his wife. The cops thought that the crackhead committed suicide. Then, and you could look this up too, people, the FAA shut down Kiwi Airlines, the only airline in US history that was ever shut down. Because it turns out that he realized that if you purchase an airline and you stop paying the mechanics overtime so that they can fix the airplanes, that eventually an airplane would crash because of poor maintenance. And if the airplane crashes, well, the insurance company covers it. And there's really no investigation. The police aren't going to show up and say, hey, man, listen, you just murdered 280 people on that plane. So the mechanics started complaining. They were like, hey, man, listen, like these planes are like not safe to fly. And the quote's in there from the FAA. They said that the reason they shut it down was because the planes were going to be falling out of the sky. I know this isn't funny, but I mean, it's like, I tell people that I've been telling, just like I've been warning people about the threats of mutiny that are going on now because of toxic leadership at the highest levels. People say I'm crazy. I'm like, the evidence is all out there, people. All you got to do is look up Kiwi Airlines, FAA, shut down. The owner, Dr. Charles C. Edwards. I've got all those articles and stuff on my website, Victor-Hugo-collection.com. I don't know how these people are like so lazy they can't find it. Anyway, so he never got caught. I think he's still alive. And his son now works for the hospital. So God only knows what's going on there. God forbid it goes through the bloodline. All I know is his son that worked at the Grandview Palace was also an evil son of a bitch, because people were constantly complaining about how dangerous that building was. Oh, and then you could look it up. It made world headlines. That's how I became an artist, by the way, because Hurricane Wilma went right through the building completely. It showed how poorly it was built. It looked like a building in Gaza. All it was a shell. This is a high-rise building near Miami Beach. This happened during Art Basel, where the world convened. All the richest of the rich came to Art Basel, and they wanted to keep that building away because they didn't want the people that were there to see it. It was an eyesore. There was no electric. There was no running water. There were elderly people who were high up who couldn't get their medication, couldn't get out of the building. Their daughters would come to me and say, Victor, please, we can't even get my mother down because the stairwells are all dark. They're supposed to have lighting, emergency lighting systems. They didn't have that. Plus, there was like flooding going on. This was the most unbelievable thing. Again, there's footage of it. I've got evidence of this stuff. I bring receipts. You could look straight through from one side of the building to the other, which meant that if your neighbor was a pervert or a whatever, and you're a woman living in the apartment next door, there's no walls. So this guy could be walking around naked in front of you because there's no wall. There was no like concrete between the apartments. It was just drywall, and the drywall was blown away. So were all the windows. The CNN helicopters, the Telemundo helicopters were flying over the building. They saw my refrigerator dangling over the balcony next to large works of art that I had created because I would paint just to chill out. A glass of wine and some music, and I painted. I never thought I'd be a world famous artist. But the cameras caught it. They said, wow, what's this? Next thing you know, I get a call from the owner of the Broadway Gallery in Soho, New York. He says, oh, I saw your artwork on television. He goes, we're doing a show with Jeff Koons. We'd like to have you exhibit alongside Jeff Koons. I had no idea who Jeff Koons was. When I met him, I shook his hand. I was like, hi, who are you? He's like, I'm Jeff Koons. Jeff Koons, for those of you who don't know, he's the Guinness Book of World Record holder for the highest selling living artist. His stuff sells for like hundreds of millions of dollars. He's involved with all the people who eat babies, let's put it that way. He is the only artist who's ever held a solo exhibit at the Museum of Modern Art in New York. He's the guy who did the balloon dogs. Some of you may have seen it, the balloon teddy bears, but they're really big. He also became famous because he did a porn series with his Italian wife, who was a porn star. Anyway, that's Jeff Koons. You could look him up. I had no idea. That ended up skyrocketing me right to the top of the art world because it turns out that New York Arts Magazine covered that event and they praised my artwork. China Arts Magazine also covered that. That's how I ended up getting invited to work with masters in China. So it totally changed my life, that one incident. But what happened was, again, I was the I was the homeowners association president. So everybody was asking me for help. The doctor loved it. So did his son, because people were now trapped in this building. I had to meet with the mayor of Miami and a bunch of city officials there. And I said, listen, you need to like declare this building uninhabitable. The people are like making barbecues and it could burst up in flames. I said, there's no light, there's no electric, there's no walls. You've got to do something. You've got to find these people housing. They said, Victor, we can't do that. It's Art Basel is in town. All the hotels are booked. We don't have anywhere for these people to stay. We need you to tell them that everything is safe and that everything is okay. We need you to keep these people calm. So that's when I realized, holy cow, you become somebody who's president of the United States and you've got to lie to your constituents to keep them calm. And this was coming from high up, that this is what they were ordering me to do. I was like, listen, I'm not getting paid for this. I'm not going to lie to these people. I resigned. And I resigned and I told them why I resigned. And I handed in that letter and I said, I'm not going to lie to these people. But somebody else came in and they lied to them. So that's the thing. The problem is, like, for every person who's not willing to sell their soul, there's about 1 million others who will kill their own mothers for money and fame. So we've got a serious problem, Christian. I wish I was making this stuff up. I'm telling you, I'm not that talented. And anybody who doubts anything I say, I bring receipts. You can go to victorhugocollection.com, go to the In the News section, type in Dr. Charles C. Edwards, and you will see it for yourself. Also, you could type in Scott Israel. He's the guy from the Parkland who was up there with Hillary Clinton. All these people are connected. It's a big show that you're watching. They're all actors in the show. And apparently Christian and I did not get the invitation to be part of this shit show.
Yeah, I didn't even know the shit show even existed. Again, I mentioned it, I think, on another episode. What's really scary is, had I not done this show, I wouldn't know any of this stuff. I would still be voting. I would still buy into the kayfabe, the Japanese kabuki theater. I would not be aware of the whole health industry, how much of that is a scam, a lot of it out there. A lot of the history being obfuscated. I mean, it's funny is that once you get a tidbit of truth, then it bleeds into so many other areas of your life. But yeah, most alarming is the media. Just how much of it is consumed. I go to the gym almost every day, and I just look up on there, and all I just see are the main television shows. I just can't help but I'm like the guy from the movie They Live. I just put on my sunglasses. No, I'm straight up. I don't. And all I do is I look at society and people differently. Like when I go to the grocery store to pick up groceries, I just look around and I just look at people in society in a way I have never looked at before. And not only from I'm trying to put it into words here, just this whole, I mean, really the Matrix is really the best word to describe it. Just everything. And, yeah, and again, for those tuning in who are hopping on the live stream, it's literally our own government. That's what's so crazy. They're the ones creating all of this stuff. They create the dialectic. They create all the problems, right? How do we want to have greater control over people? Let's create a terrorist incident. Okay, we'll do some false flag. We'll create this terrorist thing. Okay, now we can roll out the Patriot Act. We can roll out other legislation here. We can gradually roll out this kind of police state, very gradually over time. That way it doesn't arouse too much attention. And then what do you have? Now you have this flock camera and all these other things arising. So it's just that's the thing that really blows my mind. And the whole baby eating, I mean, that's truth right there. Who I love is watching his content here, and I could share it later here at some point, is that, I don't know the guy's last name or whatever, but that Dimitri Revolt, I mean, he's got some great he's got some. I don't. I know you've seen his stuff. He's got some great clips on X and on YouTube. And I mean, whether it is pertaining to this whole, apparently people are talking about James Blunt as being the guy that was the guy on the yacht, as it pertains to
Oh yeah, that girl who I think
Hayden.
she was killed, right? They
I'm pretty
killed her.
certain she was killed. Yeah, some people were looking at the numbers and some of the numerology. Um, it's yeah. I'm pulling up my notes here. I have a bunch of screens up right now, so I'm pulling up my notes that I wanted to mention on it. Yeah, he does a really great job of connecting the dots. Just a lot of people don't realize that there's a lot of occult, esoteric things that go on, and people are totally clueless of. Means a lot to these people, whether the stuff is real or not is beside the question. It's they are involved in this. I should show some of the clips here, but I don't know if we want to deviate there yet. But and I'll look at some of the questions here. If people have questions, feel free to chime in, and Victor-Hugo, feel free to.
Well, one of the things that I'm noticing again, what happens is, like you said, the older you get, the more you start noticing patterns. And it's the pattern recognition that people need to start focusing on, because once you start seeing the commonalities between these people, you start understanding how this Project Pogo deepfake revolution happens. And again, what that is they'll take people like Christopher Key, like Stu Peters, yes, I name names, like Dustin Nemos, like Jim Fetzer, who are so-called influencers, which is an insult, by the way. Anybody who calls himself an influencer or is called an influencer, that's actually an insult. Look up what it means. There's a difference between being an investigative journalist who's credible and brings receipts and someone who just spreads gossip. So all these people have criminal records. And so what ends up happening is the government steps in and they make deals with them and they say, listen, you can either do time in prison or we'll make you rich and famous. So in Dustin Nemos's case, who I had him on my show several times, he contacted me. He said, listen, I'm blacklisted everywhere. Nobody wants to have me on their show. Will you have me on your show? I'm like, sure, come on the show. I'd never heard of the guy before. Then I start noticing patterns with him. It turns out he's a psychopathic narcissist. Literally, I have a psychology degree, and in studying the guy closely, you see this. I challenge anybody to challenge my diagnosis of this guy. Anyway, then it turns out that he's got everything from cyber stalking to breaking and entering to possession of stolen weapon and selling uh, narcotics in a daycare center, and apparently also sexual abuse with children. This was found by Giovanni Cerrucci, who was a guest on your show, who came on my show and made me aware of this. So, what's interesting is Michael Yon was on the show, and he was talking about how he studied cults and he also infiltrated cults. So, what happens is not only do they get these people to become influencers and have their shows with millions of viewers and all these people, but they also create cults out of this because they become the daddy figures. So, yeah, Dustin Nemos is getting a lot of money from his cult followers, even though they've been presented with all the evidence of all the stuff that he's done. And they get upset at me for doing my job, for bringing receipts, for saying, hey, listen, you may not realize this, but you're a member of the cult. And again, that recent interview that I did with Michael Yon, he says that. He says the people who are in cults don't even realize they're in a cult. So it's hard to get out of that because these people will convince you that they're your daddy. And that's what's going on here. And what they do is when they get exposed by people like me, they try to discredit them. So what Dustin Nemos does is anybody who exposes him, and it's a lot of people, he puts them on what he has as his pedophile list, and he calls them a Jew. So if you notice that Dustin Nemos is the modern Jim Jones cult leader, then you're a pedophile and a Jew. And that's it. Case closed. So this is what we're dealing with. But the public has to take some responsibility because you have to doubt everything that people say. Don't believe everything I'm telling you. If you do, you're a fool. And don't believe everything that Christian White is telling you. You got to do the research yourself. Because otherwise, yeah, you're going to get stuck into a cult and you're never going to get out. And they're taking advantage of you. And it's sad.
I hear you loud and clear. It's for lack of a better term, yeah, just alarming. I thought I'd mention some of the questions that I've received from the audience because I know you don't have the chats pulled up. I have it pulled up on my screen here, the chats, in case people want to engage. Hello everyone tuning in here. Thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate you, or we both do, I should say. This is from Jeff B321. I have a bad feeling that many, and these are just questions, so I know they're not in any particular order topic that we're covering here, but I have a bad feeling that many of these data centers are actually concentration camps. Any thoughts on that, Victor?
I don't believe that. I think the concentration camps are actually at the Walmarts because that is actually what they have set up. And I do believe that there's underground cities as well and tunnels going around. And really, the concentration camps, I don't think the data centers are for that. No, that's your answer. There's already plenty of FEMA camps set up, and not many people are going to survive because there are several different ways that they're going to depopulate you. One of them is the war. The other one is they're planning a new outbreak. I'm thinking it might be Ebola. They're going to use the fear campaign. People are already freaking out. They're taking away people's food stamps. They're going to have you commit suicide. So their goal is to have 4 billion people on Earth by the time it hits 2030. Then they're going to do like a reset. They're going to pull back. And then they're going to eventually they want to get down to 500 million. So yeah, we're in for quite a ride, folks. I mean, stay tuned. It's going to get really, really interesting.
Yeah, I have those moments where I'm like, is this is just an echo chamber? And I'm just quickly reminded when you look at some of the receipts that nope, these people believe in it. They definitely subscribe to it. As far as the depopulation, a lot of these other things that go on here. I'm just I'm looking at the questions here. Feel free to, if you have any questions for Victor-Hugo, please feel free to post them in the chat. I'm looking at a question. Let's see here. People, if you got a question, just type questions so Chris can catch. Okay, yeah, thank you. That is from Pio. Yeah, thank you. Another person says data centers are Terminator docking stations and dumb surface accessories, question mark, from PBS. Yeah, I surmise that to be the case. Yeah.
By the way, I had a guest on the show today that was saying that this plan of the digital mind control was planned back in the 1800s, and Rockefeller was involved in this. And their plan was to eventually be able to control people's minds through the Neuralink and through the 5G. So a lot of people think that this is just happening overnight. No, they've put this stuff in writing. You can go back and see the United Nations had this planned. And so they're just following the plan. And it's a depopulation plan. And also, part of the plan is to have everybody distracted and divided. That goes back to Sun Tzu's The Art of War. The more people hate me, the less they hate the ones that are trying to kill you. I ain't trying to kill you, so I don't know why you're hating on me. I'm just like, I don't even know you, but they know you. They hate you. They think you're useless eaters, and they're trying to kill you. So instead of focusing your anger and hatred on me, why don't you actually do something? Like get off behind your fake name and avatar and go to your local city council. Sit in there. Go to like courts on your day off instead of watching useless television. Go sit and watch what's going on in the court. The only reason I'm not in jail right now because that judge Donald W. Haffield, he was going to put me in jail. Fortunately, I had enough people that backed me that they would go with me to court, and they were witnesses. As long as you have witnesses in the court, the judge won't do anything because there's witnesses. I didn't do anything. All I did was report that the justice system is protecting pedophiles. You could look this up. I was doing this back in 2005. And here we are, 2026, and they're still protecting pedophiles. That's why I'm telling you, I was warning people back in 1990 that the threats of mutiny would be happening today as we speak because there's toxic leadership at the highest levels of the US military. At the highest levels. People didn't realize. See, it's a long game here. You train psychopaths in the 1990s so that in 2026, when they're my age and those guys are still in there, and now they're in charge at the highest levels of the Pentagon and stuff like that. Those are the people that I witnessed that are nuts. They're crazy. So, yeah, that's who we've got now. We're being led by crazy people, and you guys are pissed at what? At me? The hell? Get a life, man.
You gotta love it. I'm just collecting my thoughts here. Yeah, I'm pretty floored. I'm pretty floored. In a lot of ways, I'm kind of checked out. Yeah, I'm looking at the comments here real quick too. Again, any questions, please feel free to post those. I'm also looking at. Okay, so here is this is from Hal Turner's. He's got a lot of great articles that I'll look at here from time to time. I thought I'd just share this with the audience. This is one of them pertaining to Buffalo International Airport being out of fuel. They posted on the mainstream media that it was because of some glitch or something with the computer software. But as of 9 p.m. Eastern U.S. time, this was last night, the Buffalo International Airport has run out of fuel. It is unable to refuel aircraft. And he says, when was the last time any of you heard about a U.S. international airport running out of fuel? For months, I have warned there were coming fuel shortages and outages. I urge readers to get and stock fuel. I actually stocked fuel I've never done it before, but I actually did stock fuel. Because
I can assure you Bill Gates won't run out of fuel. So
exactly.
He'll be okay. Their yachts are going to be okay. Their private jets are going to be okay. This is all another psyop. Again, there's plenty of fuel. That's another thing. There's oceans of fuel underneath us. Not only that, but that's antiquated. We don't even need that. There's what people call free energy, which it's not, but it's the stuff that Tesla found out. And Edison was like, hey, listen, can we put a meter on this? He's like, you don't need to. Everybody could just get it for free. It's all around us. The energy is all there.
Mm-hmm.
So eventually what we need is these whistleblowers to come out and actually save the day. So that's what I'm hoping for. And I do believe that that's going to happen. Recently, a lot of the whistleblowers have been getting killed. So
I have heard that. Mike Harris shared, he told me, I don't know if you've met him, maybe you should have him on your show. He did share with me that he heard from a source that they are taking people out who are too much on the truth and dispensing too much of it. So, yeah.
Yeah, but you can't live in fear. If you're a Bible thumper, it says it more than anything else in the Bible, live without fear. And also it says God hates cowards. People always get upset at me when I tell them this because they go, oh, God doesn't hate anybody. Yeah, he does. It says in the book of Revelation, you're either hot or cold, but he'll spit you out if you're lukewarm. So pick a side, people. That's the fact, Jack. It's in the book of Revelation, you know? There's a special place in hell for liars and people who are lukewarm, cowards. So if you believe in hell, that's where you're going if you're not going to take a side or if you're going to continue to perpetrate lies. It's in the Bible. A lot of people quote the Bible, but they've never read it. Man.
Well, here's a question that we have from Pio Trustban. Question: What does Victor think about Georgia when as it relates to conflict in Ukraine spreading over to the next stage? Why is he staying there, and what place would he choose to stay? Would he choose to stay safe?
Michael Yan asked me this. That's a good question. This is a gateway country between Asia, Africa, the EU, and the Middle East. I know the Middle East isn't a country, but it's a strategic location. This is Eurasia. It's protected by the Black Sea and the Caucasus Mountains. This is where the Caucasians come from. This is also the home of the Khazarian Mafia. It's the old Silk Road. It was the only road that was open during the COVID psyop because, well, they had to get the stuff through to Europe and to Africa and to the Middle East. So it came through here. This place was booming. It still is booming. Its strategic location makes it enamored by China, the United States, and Russia. And so they're all here. The CIA is all over this place. China's all over this place because they're helping them to build the Belt and Road. And while they're building the Belt and Road, they're like, okay, well, we'll build this for you. We'll pay for it. Our people are going to build it. So you have to let the Chinese come in. So that's how the Chinese infiltrate. Rather than going in like bullies in the United States, terrorist nation, bombing people, killing people, the Chinese are have a different approach. They're like, okay, we'll build something for you. We'll bring our people. Our people will then stay there. And if you can't pay us back, we'll take over your roads and we'll charge tolls. And so they'll build the infrastructure, but then they'll keep it if you can't pay it back. So yes, I'm not saying it's good, but it beats getting bombed, you know? So they're there, and the United States is here trying to do the with the NGOs and the CIA. They're always doing covert actions here. Meanwhile, Russia, they're the next door neighbors, quite literally. I could catch a camel and be in Russia, but yeah, the Russians have fuel. So these people, they're playing all sides. They're taking the money from the Americans. They're getting the roads built by the Chinese, and they're getting the fuel from Azerbaijan, Armenia, and meanwhile, they're neighbors with Turkey. So really, this is a safe place, and that's why I'm staying here. The reason I got here was because I had 2 days to escape China when I received a letter from the U.S. State Department saying that I could be held as a political prisoner or killed during the COVID psyop. And then my building, the landlord shut off the electric and the water, and they were closing it up. China's a lot like the United States, where there's like safety rules and regulations. They literally closed my building down. They were putting the padlock on it before I got out. I was lucky to get out. And then I called somebody to take me to the U.S. Embassy. The army guy was there with his gun, and he was shouting at me in Chinese, saying, no, I couldn't leave. I couldn't leave. I couldn't understand what he was saying, but I could see that he had a gun and that he was screaming at me. The guy who came by to pick me up talked to the guy, yelled at him in Chinese, said, listen, we got to take this guy to the U.S. Embassy. You got to let us through. They were back and forth, back and forth. Finally, he opened the lock and let the car out. Boom. I got out with 2 hours to spare before on the day that the Wuhan virus whistleblower, Dr. Li Wenlang, died. I made it into Hong Kong. I had to be in disguise. I had to leave everything behind. I have like works of art that are like created by where they really belong to the people of the United States. That's eventually I hope that when peace is made, that they use me as a diplomat there, a cultural ambassador rather, because they need to give that artwork back to the United States. I've performed on stage with members of Bon Jovi, the Doobie Brothers, Cheap Trick, Steely Dan, Aerosmith, the Goo Goo Dolls, members of the Bob Marley and the Wailers band, the James Brown band. All those works of art are signed by members of those bands. Those are cultural artifacts that belong to the people of the United States. So when I left, I entrusted them with somebody, but then it turned out that that somebody was Huiping Wang, who pretended to be my friend. Turns out Huiping Wang was trying to be my handler. He wanted me to be the guy that would be rich and famous because I was supposed to go on television stations all throughout Europe and then back into the United States telling everybody to take the vaccines, that they were safe and effective, to buy the masks and personal protective equipment. I was going to be that guy because I had the contacts in China with the owners of those companies that were making that stuff. That's how I found out it was a psyop. A lot of people, including SGT Report, which is so disgusting because he knows my story. Yeah, there's videos of me wearing a mask. I was having death threats. I literally started this channel because I was letting people know that I'm not suicidal. There were people, I was like walking around watching my back. I'm in a foreign country. I don't speak the language. The whole world's like going crazy. And I got people sending me pictures of rats and mice in glue traps, and they're telling me, we're going to make you die slowly. We're going to torture you. We're going to throw you off a high rise. I was like, what the hell? So I saw everybody was wearing a mask. I had to disguise myself. So I started wearing a mask. You're damn right I did. And I was doing reports, letting people know. And then, yeah, I fell for it at first. Absolutely, I admit it. I was believing the whole wear a mask, this, and that the vaccines work. But then I started learning about it because they put me on television. I was on live TV when I got here. I was talking to the newspapers. I was supposed to go to the Czech Republic, to Holland, to France, to England, Germany, all these countries, telling them all to take the jab and everything. But I was like, wow, this is February of 2020. The world really doesn't even know about this, and you're already saying that there's vaccines. How did this happen? And the more I started talking to Ping Wang, who turned out to be a terrorist, that's another reason why I'm here, because I'm the primary witness in this terrorist case. So I'm being protected by the police here, the government here. And when I went to the US Embassy and I reported this stuff, I was shocked to find out that the US government was in on this whole COVID PSYOP thing. And I was like, okay, I see what's going on here. The US is involved in this. And so they wanted me to take the bioweapon disguises. Oh, I'm not allowed to say that. Okay. So, because we're on YouTube, sorry. They wanted me
You're
to
good.
take.
You're good. You're good.
They wanted me to kill myself, essentially. And like I said, I'm not suicidal. So I just reported it. I said, listen, Ping Wang is heading to the United States. I showed him his passport. I showed him the messages that he was sending me, telling me that I'm going to be assassinated, and that he's heading to the United States, and that all the way along the United States, just like everybody was, because I used to see terrorists come by here and they were bragging to me. Biden sent me, and they were like saying that they were going to go to the United States as sleeper cells. These people were bragging about it. And they were bragging that all along the way, they were going to be taken care of because all these bleeding heart governments were feeding these people, housing these people in five-star hotels, as many of the people in the United States and Europe watching know. These illegal aliens, a lot of them, not all of them, obviously, but a lot of them are actually sleeper cells. They're getting better taken care of than you are. A lot of people can't even get their food stamp money. So, I mean, it's just, listen, man, I've been getting a bird's eye view of everything because of the location that I'm in. I know this is a long answer, but I'm explaining to you. You asked me a question. I'm giving you the full thing, showing you respect. So yeah, this place is strategically located. Me and one other guy, Jeffrey Silverman, are the only two investigative journalists here. Everybody else is reading off a teleprompter, watching the stuff that Jeffrey Silverman and I put out there. By the way, don't be fooled. Just because the numbers are low doesn't mean that people aren't watching. They mess with the numbers too because they try to demoralize you. So don't be fooled, Christian. Just because the numbers are low, I've literally filmed the numbers going down. I've gone on the Michael Deacon show, and we're in the thousands, and then all of a sudden, boop, it goes down by 1,000, and I'm filming it. And Michael Deacon says, "Yeah." He goes, "Victor, I know." So you just got to keep pressing on, man. Never give up. Never surrender. Keep shining. Live, love, flow. Don't let them get you down, folks. You're watching a show. I'm telling you, you're in the matrix, but you can break out of it once you start noticing, and then you start digging in deeper for the information. So yeah, this is a strategic location. I'm here because I'm surrounded by war zones. A camera. I meet with people from Tel Aviv, from Jerusalem, from Afghanistan, from Iran, from Iraq. I meet with people from the Ukraine, from Russia. I have a guest on who I try to get on, but he's under attack in Crimea. Nobody's reporting about that because the U.S. and NATO are funding drone factories, which is where Lindsey Graham got killed. What ends up happening is they send the drone parts from places like Lithuania, Romania, England, even Italy, and then they ship it to the Ukraine, and then in the Ukraine they put them together, and then they start killing innocent civilians in Crimea on the beach. They're bombing people who are vacationing on the beach. Notice they don't bomb the palaces. Like nobody took out Zelensky. What is he still doing alive? That's again why realize people this is all nonsense. You really believe what happened in Butler, Pennsylvania? People still believe that God saved Trump. That was theater, folks. Total theater. If they want Trump dead, he'd have been dead already. Any of these people,
100%.
they're all playing their parts. Good guy, bad guy. That's why you see Trump. Oh, I'm no longer with Benjamin Netanyahu. Really? Now? It's kind of late, isn't it? I mean, the damage has been done. Easy for you to say now you're not friends with Benjamin Netanyahu. I don't think so. That's not how it works, Trump. These people are all actors.
I think they are, and we have a question here from, I think it's hello. I want to make sure I get your name right. I know they always show me a lot of love, so I really appreciate you. I think it's LD. Whoop, the chat moved. LD9044. Yep. She. I don't. I'm assuming she. So I apologize here. They ask, why should? Wow, the chat keeps moving here. I was just going to read it. Why should we believe you now? Question mark.
You shouldn't. Don't believe anything I say. Doubt everything I say. Find it out for yourself. So yeah, you shouldn't believe me.
Okay. And then I was going to respond to your comment. I'm trying to get my train of thought here. Damn, it was something with the media. I'm thinking of some of these. Damn, it was something right before that ending note. I don't know if you recall offhand. There was something I was going to comment on and share. Maybe it'll come to me here in a moment. Damn. Oh yeah, just the interconnectedness of a lot of these people. You mentioned China earlier. I can't help but think of the. I think I mentioned it previously. The Sassoon family being integrated in there. So you have these other European and or Middle Eastern families. I'll let people guess some of their backgrounds integrated with Chinese ones. I think the Lin family is one of them, and there's another one too, perhaps. So there's quite a bit of integration there at the very top, behind the veil. You know, when Toto's pulling the curtain to see who the Wizard of Oz is. That these people, it's a very small group. I think that runs the show. Maybe a few hundred top dogs. Ronald Bernard says 8,000. And then they determine, hey, this is what we're going to do. This is how this is going to go down, and so on and so forth here. Trying to remember what I was going to say, but that's okay. I'll just revisit that here. Yes, thank you. Now I'll just call you 9044. One big club and weed in it. Yeah, that's true. Or it's a small club. It's actually a small club, I think, as James Corbett says. Instead of a big club, he says it's actually a small club. I think that's an interesting way of looking at it here. Yeah, I think much of it is staged. Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay, so yeah, a lot of these events, the mass shootings, the Las Vegas one was very interesting because apparently, and I didn't do a deep dive on this, so don't, apparently there were like 8 or 10 eyewitnesses that were being interviewed, and then all of a sudden weird things happened to them. Apparently. And then another thing I'll share here, I guess this ties in with controlled opposition here. Let's see if I could pull it up here in my X account here. Here we go. Let me bring this up. Here we go. Okay, so here I'm gonna do share screen here.
Yeah, the Las Vegas Harvest Massacre was a total psyop. It's funny how people totally forget that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I was recently at a Moby concert, and people pointed out that when I was filming the stage performance, the people in front of me who had their cell phones out, you could see their cell phones with the performance. But the people that were at the Las Vegas Harvest Massacre, when they showed their cell phones, they were blank. So how does that work? There's just a lot of anomalies. Oh, the red bracelet. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't have one. I didn't get the invite.
I'm glad you pointed that out. This is actually from the Moby concert. I wear this on purpose because I have people like Dustin Nemos who claims that I'm a quadruple CIA double Mossad agent and that I'm a member of the Kabbalah. And they have videos out there that are reaching hundreds of thousands of people. And it's interesting. I'm honored because I'm amongst a lot of these people who are, in fact, actually with the Kabbalah. I'm not. And I've told the story before. When I was performing with legends in the music industry, the manager that I had at the time said, hey, listen, I want to see if you could do a show with Madonna. I hear she's going to be at the Kabbalah Center tonight in Boca Raton. Let's go over there. I want to introduce you to her. So maybe you could do a show with Madonna. I have synesthesia. So I hear wavelengths and frequencies and color, and I'm able to interpret live performances on stage because I have no shame performing in front of people. and also because I'm able to create a Rorschach interpretation of the event. I capture the energy of the audience, the energy of the band, and the energy of the venue. Because some of the venues I've performed in, the Rolling Stones have been on, uh, Billy Joel has been on, Coldplay has been on. So, I mean, there's such a thing as energies and frequencies. Places have energy. So I capture that on canvas. Just like the painting that I have behind me, which I did with the famous band from Belarus in front of a bunch of Russians, Ukrainians, and Georgians. So I go to the Kabbalah Center. Madonna didn't show up, but it turns out that the manager introduced me to like the top people at the Kabbalah Center. That's the Boca Raton one. That one's like full of super rich people. If you live in Florida, that's close to Mar-a-Lago. So the richest Jews go to this place. Anyway, the top guys there bring me in. They're like, oh, you know, this. They were like very nice to me, very nice to me. So they said, oh, look, we want to honor you. We want to give you this Kabbalah string. I was like, what's that? They said, oh, we're going to wrap it around your hand. It protects you from evil. We're going to say some prayers over it. Keep it on until it falls off. Don't take it off before then. I don't know, like maybe they just like don't take it. And I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna, you know, if it's bringing me good luck and it's warding off evil, just because you want me to be a Jew hater and you want me to like not have liars out there claim that I'm a quadruple CIA double Mossad agent, I'm gonna risk giving myself bad juju? No. So I kept it on, and then yeah, I did interviews and I was on television because at the time I was performing. So yeah, they took that, they snap it. They're like, "Oh, look, you see, he's a Jew, he's a Mossad." I'm like, okay, whatever, you know. So just to fool with them now, because now I know these trolls. They're always watching it. The ones who hate me are the ones who watch everything I do, in a way that's like really sad because they watch my shows over and over and over and over again just to see when they can capture something that they could then take out of context and make it look like I'm, you know, I don't know, whatever they're trying to make me look like. So yeah, I went to the Moby concert, and yeah, I keep this on now just to mess with them. At this point, I'm just having fun with the haters. So yeah,
Boy.
but I don't know. Like I gotta admit, the people in the Kabbalah are the Zohar. It's a huge. It's not good. So yeah, I actually agree with. Let's not beat around the bush here. The people who call themselves JEWS but are not, or of the synagogue of Satan. They're not all, but most of them are trying to kill all the non-Jews. And those who claim, "Oh well, I'm one of the good guys," well then you need to stand up. That's all I could say, because it's like if you're knowing that this is going on and you're not standing up and saying, "Hey, listen, let's stop with the genocide, let's stop with the ethnic cleansing, let's stop with this depopulation plan," then you're part of the problem, because silence is not an excuse. And I have a lot of people who are like, "Oh, well, you know, I'm a Jew, but I don't agree with that." Okay, well, what are you doing about it?
It's a very nuanced and I'm trying to find the right words here. No, I hear you. I hear you.
People need
Yeah,
to
it's
stop. Again, you need to pick a side, folks. This isn't time to say, "Oh, well, I kind of like the Jews. I know they're trying to kill us, but it's not all of them." Okay, I know it's not all of them, but can we identify the ones that it is? Can we start with the ones that are, like Benjamin Netanyahu and that other guy, the fat guy who's running around like
is it Ben
Sod-
Gavir?
Ben Gavir? The guy's like sodomizing people who are trying to bring help to the people in Gaza, and like nobody says anything. I don't know if you saw that, but like I think one of Nelson Mandela's family members was raped. These people are like raping dudes in the booty. In the name of what? In the name of Israel? I interviewed a guy today, smart guy from Sweden. Again, everybody's afraid of saying anything about the JEWS. Meanwhile, they have no problem saying they want to kill us. I mean, I've played videos. There's so many videos out there you could see of them saying that they need. That's the plan, by the way, folks. In case you haven't caught the memo, they see the United States of America as the new Rome. And so, if you wonder why the United States is in such a mess, from the top down, like I said, I was warning people since 1990, because when your military is toxic, you've got a problem, because they'll turn their guns on you. For Israel, remember, the IDF now is aligned with the US military. So, hello, we're in big trouble. And it's by design because they have to destroy the United States. I found this out when I moved to China, by the way. The Chinese are totally hip to this. So you're absolutely right, Christian. The Chinese are in on it. The Iranians are in on it. The Russians are in on it. The reason why nobody's really doing anything is because why interfere with your enemy when they're in the process of destroying themselves, like Art of War with Sun Tzu? The
Never
United
inter-
States, yeah, never interrupt your enemy when it's in the process of destroying itself. The United States is a mess. Russia sees it. China sees it. Everybody sees it. When I was living in China, the Chinese told me the whole plan. They said, Victor, this is how it's going to be. Right now, the United States is number one, but not for long. China's going to be number one. Russia's going to be number two. India's going to be number three. And if it's lucky, the United States will be number four. But as it turns out, because of the miscalculation that they did with Iran, which was no miscalculation, Iran is going to be number four. And the United States, if it's lucky, will be number five. So that's how this whole thing is working out. That's why China, they're so far ahead with their AI, which is another reason why people may be thinking that those are used as FEMA camps, because China doesn't have the number of data centers that the United States has. And yet they can capture everything. They knew when I was there, I was on my best behavior. I will tell you that. So there is something to be said about 24/7 monitoring. But I was different because I was there as a cultural ambassador and I was meeting with the billionaires and stuff like that. So my life was totally different than the regular Chinese, some of who were starving to the point where they have to eat baby soup. I'm not exaggerating. You could buy baby soup in China for $1. From what I've heard, it's delicious. I didn't try it because the thing is, they do abortions there, and they don't let anything go to waste. I mean, they eat roaches there. They eat like rats. When I went to the restaurants there, I couldn't read Chinese. They had pictures in the menu. I would point at something, and then when it would come to me, I would bite on it, and I was like, "This isn't. I don't know what this is, man." I was just praying it wasn't rat or dog, because see, I didn't live near the embassy. I didn't want to live with the Americans, because quite frankly, no offense to my brothers and sisters in America or in your audience, I'm sure you all are like cool folks, but the average American, good grief, man, they're the ugly American. That's what they're called when they visit other countries. They think their shit doesn't stink. So I don't really, when I see Americans here, I hear them speak in English, I go the other way because I don't want them to engage with me. They start, "Oh, you speak English." I'm like, "No hablo inglés." you know, I'm like, "Fuck you, man. I don't want to talk to you, dude. What are you doing here?" So anyway, I lived with the Chinese people, like the real Chinese people, and it was amazing. What I learned in traveling around the world is that we're all the same, really. We all just want to like live, love, flow. But the powers that be don't want that. They want us to be in misery. They're psychopaths, like you said. We're being led by why if you have all the money in the world, these people have trillions of dollars. Why are they buying bombs and stuff? Why not like give people a proper education, proper housing? There's plenty of space on Earth. If you've ever traveled anywhere, you could see there's like a whole bunch of empty land. You could fit the entire human population in the size of Texas, and everybody could have an acre of land and grow their own food.
100%. All this is engineered. All this is being done intentionally. Not far from my house, there's supposed to be this master plan development going on, and some people are protesting and upset about it. And I can understand it from different angles, but I'll look at it this way: you have a housing crisis. You have so many people, people well into their middle years, even senior years, who are totally dispossessed of homeownership. I mean, they're not going to get a home unless something changes. And so there is just so much land. It's amazing how vast Not only a lot of the states are here in the U.S., but also much of the world. I mean, just vast swaths of land, and all by design, right? Energy crisis, oil crisis, water crisis, this, that, and the other. It's 24-hour news cycle courtesy of a Ted Turner.
By the way, Christian, have you seen the small houses that they're building in California? Did you see that?
Is that kind of like the what's it called? Boxable?
They're smaller than a shed. And
I've seen some of the stuff. I mean, you go to Home Depot, you go to Lowe's. That is your new. That I don't know. Yeah. That's your home. The tough shed.
Yeah, and they're proud of it. They had a ribbon cutting ceremony with the mayor of Los Angeles for some area in California. They're like, we are the greatest small home community.
Yeah.
And like they're right next to each other. They're little sheds. They don't have bathrooms. They have a community bathroom. It's just incredible what they're doing to people. I mean, wow, that's like a jail cell. It's about the size of a jail cell. It's incredible what mankind is putting up with. I just wow. I'm like, I can't believe it. This is supposed to be the greatest country in the world, the most advanced, and they're putting people in jail cells and calling them homes. Oh man, what is going on? Yeah, so that's somebody was asking me, why am I staying in Georgia? Because the United States has lost the plot. I've said I'm not going back to my country until I can say, without being like demonized, two men cannot have a baby. Okay, so let's start there. As soon as you guys all agree, and I don't have to sit there and argue with Ketanji Brown Jackson what the definition of a woman is, I'm not going back. I can't. I don't have the patience. Imagine she's the Supreme Court justice, which she shouldn't be because they've already proved that Joe Biden stole the election. I mean, Donald Trump is like telling everybody, oh, the election was stolen. Okay, well, what are you doing about it? First of all, she shouldn't be on the Supreme Court because everything that Biden did, including, and then he's like, oh, well, we can't do anything about Fauci because he was pardoned. He was never president. And not only that, but those were auto signatures. So what are you talking about? You see how Trump lies to everybody? Oh, I can't do anything. I thought you said the election was stolen. You need to, like, everything that happened in those 4 years needs to be wiped off. It's fake. And like I said, I can't go back to the United States if the Supreme Court judge, who's a woman, I got to sit there and argue with her what the definition of a woman is. I'd be like, Your Honor, please, can you take your robe off? Yeah, okay, now unbutton your shirt. Can you lower your panties, please? You want to know what a woman is? You see those two things there? Those are titties. Yeah. You see that thing down there? That's called a vagina. You're a woman. Okay? That's the definition of a woman. Go ahead. Here's a mirror, Ketanji Brown Jackson. You see that? Right there. Yeah, you're a woman. I'd be put in jail. She'd be like, how dare you call me a woman? I'd be like, okay, excuse me. I mean, come on, people. That's why I'm not going back to the States. You guys have lost your mind. You guys are collectively cuckoo, cuckoo, cuckoo. Men,
oh my gosh,
doing that. What is that? Tranny school reading hour? I don't know. Like, what is going on over there? Parents are taking their children to get, like, I don't know, weird gay books by trannies? No, thank you, man. I'm in an Orthodox Christian country. That stuff doesn't fly here. Okay, so I think I'll just stay here. Thank you.
You just got to laugh sometimes, like I shared with you before we started recording. It's just hilarious. Here's something I just came across here, and let me look at the comments here real quick, just so I'm not neglecting people here. 1 second, I have multiple screens up here. Let me pull it. Oh, shit, where'd it go? What? It's not popping up. Okay, hold on. Let me restart here. Here, I'll go over here. Pardon everybody. Let's see your question. If you got a free choice of safe places, what would you choose? I would Afghanistan, far from civilization. That is from Pio.
I would choose being in a woman's arms with my face nestled right between her bodacious breasts.
Oh my gosh. Okay. All right. Okay. All right.
That's my safe space.
My gosh. Oh boy. Is this what you got banned on YouTube?
Well, you asked me a question, I give you my honest
Okay.
answer.
Oh boy. Okay. This happens when you record live, right? Oh boy. Okay. All right. Question. T Man's son and daughter, Erica and Larry T. This is from PBS.
I have no idea who's T-Man.
I don't know. I don't know. Okay, let me read some other things here. Okay, let me see. Weather manipulation is real and hardly anyone looks up to notice it. Yeah, it's very true. John Jacob John Jingleheimer. I didn't even recognize that was the full name you had. Yes, mentioned
I've
on
been,
Tesla. Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think somebody is asking if Uruguay is a great place to live. I've been to Uruguay. I spent a week there. I couldn't wait to get out. But then again, I was young and it was boring. I was in Montevideo. No, that was, yeah, I think Montevideo in Uruguay. There was one theater. I stayed at the Hilton. So really, I should have been happy, but it was boring. I don't know if it's changed or anything, but I made an excursion from Bolivia. I went through Lake Titicaca, which was probably one of the toughest trips I've ever done because wow, it was harsh, man. I did it on a bus, took 12 hours, and it was through like desert terrain. The people that were in the bus were the locals, and they don't bathe. So the stench was horrible, the body odor, and it was packed. So, and then there was chickens and all sorts of livestock in there. So, like the chickens were flying over my head. The people had their arms up, and I was like, oh my God, I couldn't breathe. And then I would open the window to try to like put my head out to get some fresh air, but then the sand would just pelt my face. So, my God, it was horrible. It was really horrible. And then the bus driver kept taking stops because apparently, I don't know, there was some kind of, I think he was like dealing drugs along the way or something. So yeah, it was a horrible experience. When I got to Uruguay, I was so happy. I was like, oh my God, I got to get to a nice hotel. So I went to the Hilton. I took a bath. It was one of the best baths I've ever had in my life. Sometimes you remember things like that, you know, like it was so horrific that that bath was just wonderful. But then I was wandering around. It's a beautiful place, by the way. I also realized that a lot of the Nazis were there. That's what I've noticed in my travels through South America, Argentina, Uruguay, Paraguay. A lot of Nazis and offspring of Nazis there too. And there was a Nazi ship, a German ship that was sunk. I think it was like a submarine or something that was sunk off the coast there. So that was one of the sights to see. But other than that, there was really nothing to do. I couldn't wait to get out. The thing is, there was only one flight out per week when I was there to the next destination that I was going. Although I did go to the Falls do Iguazu, which are these beautiful, beautiful falls. That's worth the trip, by the way. It's between Argentina. I think it's between Argentina, Paraguay, and Brazil. So I went from Uruguay to Paraguay, and my God, that was another adventure because there's no hotels. These places are remote, by the way. So when I got to the Foz do Iguaçu, the next bus was leaving in the morning, but there was no hotels there. It was a jungle because these falls are in the jungle, and so I was fortunate. This old lady said, "Listen, you could stay in the hammock that I have out back there." And she gave me some food and some tea and stuff like that. Worst night I've ever had in my life. The bugs in this jungle were unlike anything I've ever seen. I mean, they were huge. Some of these things were like the size of dogs. Bugs. And at night, I couldn't sleep. First of all, it was super hot, and I had like a one of those nets, those bug nets, and then I'm in the hammock. There's stuff crawling all over me. Like I could feel it crawling all over my back and my legs. I could hear stuff because they were so big, you could hear it like, and then the thing is, it was pitch dark. So sometimes I wanted to see what was like crawling all over me. So I would turn the flashlight on, and when I turned the flashlight on, they were huge bugs. The kind of stuff, I don't know, you see on National Geographic or something. Believe me, I was terrified. I couldn't sleep the whole night. I couldn't wait to get out of there. My God, it was tough, man. I don't know how people do it. I don't know, but
I get.
it was worth it to see the Falls de Iguazu. It was really like quite a beautiful thing, really amazing. I don't know. Sometimes the things that you go through to see these things, my God, that was tough, man.
I bet. I bet. We do have some questions here. This one was from. Okay, so I want to address one question. Well, this is a question. This is more of a statement. This is from Henry 2823. He says, Chris, you invite a lot of shills, not this one, but you invite people that have obvious potholes. Please don't do that. You lose credibility. Enough of the City of London and fake SRA victims, man. Yeah, if you can get more granular, Henry, on who in particular. I mean, I guess I'll just address a question here. I mean, you do the best you can, and with the time that you have, as far as vetting people, bringing people on the show. It's up to people to make their own decision, of course, whether or not to believe somebody. So I thought I'd address that question from Henry, but thank you nonetheless for posting something. Okay, and then let me scroll through this. Yeah,
Can I
yeah,
back
yeah,
you up on that?
yeah.
I have had an array of shills and controlled opposition on my show. And the only way that I was able to figure out that they were controlled opposition is by having them on the show. And the good thing about having, like, for example, I never would have known about Dustin Nemos. I never would have known about Giovanni Cerrucci. Now, mind you, this is nothing personal against these people. People say, oh, what's your beef with these people? I got no beef with them. But if you come on my show and you expose yourself, then yeah, that doesn't hurt my credibility. If it only hurts my credibility if I don't expose you exposing yourself. So it's good that you have these people on the show because, well, this person's noticing that some of these people are shills. Yeah, you wouldn't have known that if he didn't have them on the show. And then what happens with me is they come on the show and I take out the clips like I did with Giovanni Cerrucci. I played the clip where he literally lied during a live stream to the person he was debating with, Jim Rizzoli. He had the information right there and he made the mistake. He didn't realize that he posted it and people caught it. It's my obligation to point it out. And then, of course, I invite these people back on the show. I'm like, hey, listen, you're welcome back on the show to explain this. They usually don't because they've been busted. I've invited SGT Report on my show. I've invited Stu Peters on my show. I've invited Christopher Key on my show. I've invited Dustin Nemos on my show. And he came back on the show and then exposed himself even more. So, I mean, it's just like, wow. We're doing you a favor by allowing you to see these people expose themselves. It's better for them to do it than for us to be pointing at them saying, oh, look, you see, he's a shill, he's a shill, he's a shill. No. Sit back, relax, like Christian White does. He lets his guests speak. I do the same. I sit back. I have my little coffee. I let them speak. And you know who I did that with was a guy who you have on your show. And, again, nothing personal against him. The Illuminati guy. What's his name?
But yeah, Cosmic Fellow.
No, not the Cosmic Fellow. The other guy. He's written a bunch of books.
Oh,
you just had him on your show. Leo Zagami. Yeah. So Leo Zagami comes on the show. And I've said this before. You could see it. My interview with Leo Zagami. He's going on and on. It's everybody but those who call themselves JEWS but are not of the Synagogue of Satan. Finally, I was like, hey, man, listen, he's like Giovanni Cerrucci. It's the Jesuits. It's the Christians. I'm like, yeah, got it. Satanic Christians. Duly noted. But who else is doing it? And they just refuse to say that it's the JEWS. So then he admitted for the first time on my show that he's an Ashkenazi Jews. And then I was like, okay, now we get it. And everybody was shocked because he had never apparently divulged that information before. And that makes a big difference. Because if you're an Ashkenazi, you're not even a real Hebrew. Ashkenazi are the Germans. They speak Yiddish. They're the ones who, that's why they don't allow DNA tests in Israel, because Ashkenazis are not real Israelites.
Hmm.
So so then after that, everybody takes everything he says with a grain of salt, because that makes a big difference. You know, like if you're an Ashkenazi and you're claiming to be Illuminati and the high levels and everything, by deception we shall wage war. It's Mossad, which is Masada, which I've been to, and if you know the story of Masada, they're willing to kill themselves and kill everybody before getting captured. So we're dealing with psychopaths who claim to be a religion. Unfortunately, most religions are led by psychopaths.
That I did. That I definitely agree. Leo did share that with me, the Ashkenazi side. And I guess I'll just throw this out here just to trying to think of the right word to use. He has touched on the Sabbatean Frankist element. So I hear where you're coming from, but I'll just mention that I think there's some, from what I have gathered, and again, I by no means am purporting to have it down. I do think you have these different occult societies, and at times they work in cahoots, and at times there's infighting going on, and I do think that there is this Sabbatean element with a Jesuit element. That's what I hear quite a bit from people. Again, I can't say with certainty, but that's why I don't say JEWS, because I feel like it alienates people. And if I was a JEW, I would not. I'd feel slighted because, hey, don't put me in that camp. I don't subscribe to that. So that's kind of my whole take on it for those tuning in who are kind of curious. But hey, you got to bring on people. You got to hear people's different viewpoints. Not everybody agrees. There was a question from somebody, PBS asked, heard of theories of pigs being prehistoric genetic mingling of human boar. I have. Most compatible transplant tissue, forensic teaching, Chinese acupuncture teaching say most closely approximates. That's verbatim what the question. I've heard that. I don't know if you have as well. That I mean, pigs are obviously very. There's a lot of similarities, genetics wise.
Have you ever seen a pig up close? Man, they really are like human, aren't they? I was shocked the
It,
first time I
yeah,
actually
they're
was
smart as
in.
hell. I mean, they're smarter than
Yeah,
dogs.
yeah.
I just can't
I,
believe how they're just butchered. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like I've eaten bacon and pork and all that, but it's just kind of weird. It's just eerie now. I don't look at it the same way.
yeah, I was really shocked the first time I was at a farm and they had all these pens full of pigs. The pigs would come up to me and they would stare and they were communicating with me.
Yeah.
And I think they knew that I liked bacon because they were like, hey, man, what's the deal? And I was like, man, you're tasty, you know? I was like, I got to be honest with you, man. You go well with eggs, you know? But yeah, no, I don't know. I know that they are doing things with pigs because they are so closely related to mankind. I'm not surprised because men are pigs, you know? So I guess that's why that saying is there, men are pigs. But yeah, there's just, I believe we were genetically engineered by, they call them gods or God or whatever, but they're doing it right now. They're literally geoengineering us. They're making us into transhuman. They've already said that transhumans are a new species. So, and the courts have already said that if you have mRNA and you've taken the jab, that you are now the property of the people who are the patent holders. So, yeah. And I just want to
Really?
say, yeah, that's been passed by the court. Also, I just want to say, uh, again, I like Leo Zagami, and I am actually hoping that he will come on the show with his wife so that they can do a cooking show. His wife is great. She's super cool. And yeah, I have nothing against these people. And yeah, I agree with you and Leo that it's not just the JEWS. It's I call the Satanic Christians, the Jesuits for sure, and the Muslims. They're all working together. This is all coordinated effort. These are psychopaths at the highest level that are using every single weapon in their arsenal, from religion to mind control to wars to propaganda on the television and the music and the alternative news media. They're using it all. They're It's not easy to kill off 8 billion people. So you got to take it all out and do it all. And I see what they're doing. I mean, if I was a psychopath, I'd be on their team. I just It's not in my nature to be so cruel.
The Ronald Bernard interview ties in with that psychopathy and the need to put your conscience in the freezer. I think was a verbiage he used.
Wow.
That's a really good interview he did in Dutch. I'm looking here at the comments here. Christian White is a great host. I appreciate a host who listens to their guests very noble. Thank you. I appreciate that, John Jacob. I'm looking through the comments here. Question: strange genetic potatoes, only vegetable that stinks of rotting flesh, propagated by old royalty for the peasants. Weird stuff. And then the other question that they had was, let me scroll through it here.
By the way, on that topic, do you know anything about corn? I'm told that they don't know where corn came from, that that's something that people think is alien in nature. Have you heard about that?
I always thought corn was from the Americas and then was discovered when Europeans came over here. But I'm not, I mean, the corn, I guess that ties in with the Aztec and Quetzalcoatl and this entity or entities that came and bequeathed resources and such. I mean,
Yeah, there's if anybody in the audience can answer that question, there's something strange about corn. I did not know that. Somebody told me that they haven't figured out. They think it's an alien thing that was put here.
mm-hmm. Yeah, my personal take, I do think, I do think there's a good, I mean, I definitely think there was some intelligence behind humanity, like full stop. I think we're a soul. I think we're obviously limited by our senses because of, what you can hear, see, smell, touch, taste, and that there's this whole other dimension reality that exists that you're not aware of. And I think you can tap into it, whether that's through meditating or through other vehicles. I think a lot has been obfuscated from historical biblical things. I think things have been tweaked and omitted because I can't help, and I encourage anyone in the audience to challenge or post things, but I feel like if you know the world is basically run by um, basically satanic pedophiles who are involved in human trafficking, and they're these bloodline families, if they're running it, why would wouldn't they tweak religion? Wouldn't they do things where they obfuscate, where they intentionally omit certain things so they leave you bereft of the full picture? You'll get breadcrumbs here and there, but you don't get the full scoop. And that's how I look at it. I think these people have a better take on reality in the universe than what we know. And I think that they have had agents in science, in institutions, lead people astray towards different narratives. And so I think that, like, apparently they're into this astrological stuff, the whole date and time. I mean, they created it. I mean, somebody, it's just art, and so I feel like things have been, things have been omitted and tweaked. And I mean, who has the time to sit there and go down the rabbit holes? Most people obviously do not have the time. Most people are very busy, so that they don't have the time to, do that.
They're doing that now because this young generation who's grown up being babysat by cell phones, they don't know what it's like. I don't know if you remember, but I grew up without cell phones, and I remember that there were pay phones that were a dime, and I remember being able to I was walking around the streets as a kid. I I don't know, and I grew up in New York. So to me nowadays, it sounds like you can't even have your kids walking around. They arrested a woman for letting her kid walk to the playground. They said that was child abuse. So yeah, it's like really weird what's going on now. But once the boomers die off, which they're dying off, and they've made themselves so despised that people can't wait for the boomers to die. Again, I'm not painting with the broad brush, not all boomers, but a lot of them are just really selfish. They have allowed a lot of this to happen. They never stopped it. And then the people that are, I don't know, whatever the generation after that is,
Gen X.
um, Gen X.
I think that,
I
yeah.
call us all the lied to generation because it doesn't matter if you're a boomer or if you're this new generation. It's all been lies. The older I've gotten, the more I've realized, wow, everything, pretty much everything. I'd say 90% of what I thought was true are lies. And that's why that person who asked, why should we believe you? I'm telling you, don't, because I don't know everything. I'm learning just like you are. But you got to put in the work. And work isn't just reading what other people write or hearing what other people say. You got to get out there. You got to. That's why they're trying to stop the travel, by the way. And that's why they're limiting the passports and having you live in a 15-minute city and they don't want you to get out because the reason why I've learned all this stuff is because I've actually gone to the pyramids in Egypt, in Copan, in Mexico, in Guatemala. I've been there. I've seen it with my own eyes. I've touched it with my hands. I've walked it. And then I've been to places that I'm told not to go, like China. They were like, "You're crazy. Are you a communist? They're going to kill you over there." My God, totally different. That's not the experience I had. Granted, I escaped because, yeah, you get a letter from the State Department telling you you have 48 hours to escape or you could be killed or held as a political prisoner. I don't know about you, but I'm not going to sit around and find out if that's true or not, especially when they cut off my electric and my power and they lock the building and I'm left without food or water. So, no, I don't care, people. Oh, you're a coward. All right, call me whatever you want. I'm still alive, and I'm here to talk about it. But you got to take these chances, folks. You got to get out. That's why don't let them limit you to a. That's why if they start saying with the vehicles now, I remember when I used to just be able to get into my car and drive. I used to drive from New York to Los Angeles. It's a beautiful drive. It's a beautiful country. The United States of America is beautiful. The people are great. But
I think so too.
if you don't leave your 15-minute city, you'll never know.
Well, they've done a great job of dividing everybody. You touch on the boomers. I'm not a, I don't, I'm not, I don't, I'm trying to word this right here. I don't like the term I mean, it's just like how people chastise the younger generations, Gen X or millennial, or not Gen X, Gen Z or millennials. I feel like that's just designed to just create more havoc. I mean, I do agree in that there were people within the boomer cohort, the leadership that helped to bring about a lot of things. No question about that. But I do see, I have noticed that it's become more in vogue, so to speak, to opine on the boomer generation, and much the same if you juxtapose that with kind of Gen Z or millennial, which has been totally shit on. And you know, where am I going with this? I guess I'll go with, we're all a product of the people that raised us, of course. And if we were to go back to the generation around the turn of the 20th century, they'd look at everybody here listening as you guys have it made, you guys have it easy. And so it's just kind of interesting to see. I'm just throwing that out there to address that. And then what was I going to comment on? I don't know where I was going to go with that, but yeah, it's just a lot of division being created is what we're all observing here. And I'm looking at the chat here real quick too. We're at about 100 people watching here. Maybe if we were doing some of these music videos, Victor-Hugo, we'd have a bigger audience. Again, I agree. Yeah, check some of these music videos. I'm telling you, I watch it, and why aren't they getting censored? I mean, the stuff that's in the videos, there's so much, it is so detrimental to society. They're good, but if you talk about other topics, you're gone. You're gone.
Well, you
So
got to remember who controls the
yeah.
music industry, who controls Hollywood, who controls the internet. It's not the it's not the Jesuits, folks. And I know we're not allowed to say it's the JEWS, but again, we have to be able to say who it is and who's controlling this stuff. I mean,
Hmm.
yeah, it's the hidden hand. I get it. And they're using the JEWS to play the victims. And I think it was Michael Yard who says that victims are the biggest predators, and they're the ones who are creating these wars. So, yeah, professional victims is what they're called. And they're doing a great job at it.
But
So,
yeah.
beware of these professional victims, folks, because that answers your question, Christian. Why are we being censored?
Hmm.
Because we're not professional victims.
Yeah.
I'm
I-
not complaining about it. I take it as a badge of honor. If I'm censored, it's because I'm over the target. They wouldn't be censoring me if I was like Dan Bongino or any of the what's his name,
Benny Johnson.
Tim Benny Johnson or Tim Pool. These guys are all like
I
Tim
cannot.
Pool. Yeah, Tim Pool was with Netanyahu. I mean, give me a break.
I can't. I just can't get over it. I mean, I just see some of these people. I'm just like, oh my gosh. And they're on Rumble and they get the front page. I mean, I just they just I just can't stress it enough. They completely lead people astray. I can't get over it. I know I say that so much. I thought I'd share some of the books that I've been reading. One of them is, and then I'll share my X here in light of time. One of them is by Makia Freeman. If people want to learn more about the SRA topic, Makia Freeman's got some great works. I don't know if you've had him on your show, but he would be a good guest for you.
Yeah,
And
I would love to interview him. I've actually
okay,
got a satanic ritual abuse victim coming on the show this week. I think you may have had her on the show, Max. Do
but
you
yeah, Max
know?
is great. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Max is really good. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
Max is the
Max
one.
will be on my show at
Yeah.
noon Eastern Daylight Time, and I've got Henry Macau coming on the show
Oh, right. Okay, right on.
at noon
I've got one
Eastern
of his
Daylight
books.
Time. Oh, okay, cool. So yeah, we
Yeah,
seem to be having the same people on our show, which is good. I'm glad they're coming on because their voices need to be heard.
yeah, absolutely. Someone says Christian must be Illuminati. He's 33 years old. Gotcha. Yeah, I know. Well,
Yes.
my birth date too, 322 is very occultish, very esoteric. I
So you're
probably
Pisces.
I'm
Are you
actually Aries, believe it
Pisces?
or not, but I probably
Oh, okay.
I do have Illuminati. I think most of us have Illuminati blood. I actually have. I was actually going to share this. Okay, so I had that cosmic fellow on that Illuminati insider. He talked about his family in Canada and all that. But I actually do have, and I might share it or at least talk about it on another episode, just for shits and giggles, out of curiosity, because these people are really into these, keeping their blood, the blue bloods. They want to keep it very pure. They're very careful. So it has me kind of curious. Okay, well, what's my own genealogy? And so I've never submitted a DNA test. I've not done any of that. But I actually do have a book that an ancestor of mine put together in the early 1900s. I will pick it up. It's at my folks' house. So next time I'm over there, I'll have to pick it up. And it does trace one line of the family. The book is titled The Stewarts and the Millers. This was published, I think, in 1913, around there. And it literally traces one side of my ancestry to probably about 1000 over in the British Isles. And so it's very, very granular. And I feel like when you first enter the genealogy stuff, you're like, oh, wow, I'm related to this person. Then you realize, well, no shit. Everybody's related to everybody when you go far back enough. I mean, it's nothing to write home to mom about, so to speak. But it does show a connection to the Stuart line. There's some connection there in Scotland with the Stuart line. So it's got, I don't know, so there's there's definitely some Illuminati. But I've never been any rituals. I've never done the eyes wide shut ball. I've never been invited to that. So, but
Supposedly, I'm related to the explorer Cabeza de Vaca, and somewhere along the line, the Cabeza Day got lost, and it just ended up being Vaca. So that is supposedly my ancestry, but I've never done one of those DNA ancestry things because I know that they use that against you. The
Yes.
23andMe was bought up and now it's being used for nefarious things. So I would never do that. My concern is that once I get to an age where I will no longer be able to defend myself, that they'll just do whatever. And I witnessed that with my mother. And my father took the jab, got a blood clot in his brain, went into a coma, and then when his insurance ran out, they pulled the plug on him. It was just coincidence, I suppose. But I never got to go to my dad's funeral or to see him before he passed because there was that. Well, I couldn't travel, so a lot of people. That's another thing during the COVID, and this is where it's so weird to see Mario Cuomo and his brother Chris Cuomo running around acting like they're contrite. These guys murdered a lot of people. Mario Cuomo sent the elderly to the nursing homes, and then supposedly Trump brought over those ships to help the people, and they were empty. And then Chris Cuomo was also promoting the whole death jab with that one guy, the black guy. I forgot what his name is, Don Lemon. These people, they ruined people's lives. I mean, it's incredible. People had to die by themselves. The families couldn't say goodbye to them. And now they're finding out that that whole thing was a hoax. I mean, a lot of people knew that beforehand. We were trying to warn people, but I don't see the anger. I kind of don't get it. I heard you earlier, you were showing some righteous indignation, which is healthy. These people, like their parents were murdered. There's no other way to say it. They were murdered. And people are like everybody's. I don't know. I see Anthony Fauci running around. I see Mario Cuomo running around. I see Chris Cuomo running around. I see Don Lemon's got his own show. I'm like, what do you have to do to piss people in the United States off? Like, what do you have to do? I'm wondering if they start eating babies on Fifth Avenue, like Trump said he could just shoot somebody on
Well,
Fifth Avenue and nobody would mind. Do they have to come out and start eating babies in front of you for you guys to actually say, you know what? Okay, we've seen enough.
you know, all I can think of is that most people are the way modern society is structured is the nail that sticks out gets the hammer, of course. So people, because of whether it's a pension or, they've got a deferred bonus with their company, they're a banker and on Wall Street or what have you, people don't want to rock the boat. And it's just like everything. It's really dawned on me in my own personal life, in my own journey of taking it a very unconventional route. I mean, I am talking to you. You're in Georgia right now. I'm in California at 12:32 California time. Most people are not doing the show, right? Most people are at work. You have to provide. You have to do stuff. I mean, this is one wrinkle here. What I'm getting at is most people I think do hear about it and they suspect, but people just go about their days because what are you going to do about it? And I spoke to people yesterday about it. I got in a really passionate monologue with people that family members, people I was speaking to, really just trying to hammer it home. Just, hey, you guys are seeing on TV. This is the problem. That's the problem. Well, yeah, that is a problem, but it's been created by these people up here. It's the people, all your tax dollars, everything that you do that supports the system. And I get it. It's not like I don't pay taxes or anything, but yeah, I think people they're not aware of it enough. And I think, yeah, I mean, look at James Blunt. Oh, James Blunt is apparently related to some distant royal family connected with Andrew. So there, and James Blunt in his most recent video depicts cannibalism going on. If you have the eyes to see, if you're aware of it, you start to pick up and you become more aware of this stuff. But yeah, I mean, I do believe that, yeah, they are partaking in said activities, with the whole eating babies. I know it sounds kind of like a joke, but I believe it. I believe it.
So can we go back to what you said about James Blunt being the guy that was with his hands behind his head as the actress was brought into his room in that yacht?
Yeah. Yeah. You want me to,
I just saw that video, but she never named names. That's the other thing that's weird. Like people don't name names. What's wrong with people? It's not about being a tattletale, by the way, or a snitch. It's
Well, that.
about like these
Mhm.
people are trying to kill you. These people are pedophiles. They're cannibals. They're psychopaths. If you stay, like, now she's dead. I'm like,
Yeah.
if she would have said, yeah, it was James Blunt and Oprah Winfrey brought me into his room and the ship was filled with, so and who, then at least like people could beware of them. But now maybe it's James Blunt. I heard it was James Blunt. I don't know if it was James Blunt. I can't go by that. People need to start dropping names, man. That's why when I get the haters in the chats and stuff, I go, hey, listen, come on the show. Email me, vhviipress at msn.com. Bring the receipts. You're claiming that I'm stolen valor? Bring it on, man. That's a crime. There'd be some sort of a arrest record. I would be put in prison. I would have paid some fines. Bring it. But don't just run around repeating the stupid lies that Jim Fetzer and Super Herpes Russ Winter and Susan Bradford, the tranny granny, are spreading as if it's truth just because they say it again. I'm telling you, doubt everything I say and doubt everything everybody else says too. And if you're going to go around repeating it, you're an idiot. I give you the email address. I invite you to come on the live stream so that people could judge my reaction. Like if you provide an actual arrest with the date showing the prison that I was in and this showing footage of me or a photo of me, not AI photo. People don't even know what stolen valor is. Stolen valor is those losers who can't get laid with a fistful of pardons in a woman's prison. They're so desperate, they go to like an Army Navy store, they buy somebody's dead uncle's military uniform, and then they go to another Army Navy store. They buy like a Purple Heart and all these. They sell them for like $1. You could buy all the medals you want, and then you stick it on yourself. And then you go to the local, I don't know, Army. What is the Legion? The
Yeah.
Legion Hall, or
The Foreign
yeah,
Legion or something.
yeah.
Yeah.
You go there and you sit there at the bar and you're hoping that some drunk woman comes over and she's like, "Oh, really? You're a war hero?" And then you hope you can maybe get lucky with that. So that's what they do. Or during Memorial Day or Veterans Day, they wear that at a parade and they hope again that they can get laid. I'm like, listen, man, I don't need to be wearing a uniform and I don't need any medals to get laid. So why the hell would I be parading around like stolen valor?
There's a lot of that
I mean,
out there. I've run into a number of people. There's so much of it. Yeah, yeah, it is. You hear a lot of it. Even people inflating their time in the service, like what they've done. I mean, some people will talk about they've done this or that, and you find out they're a cook. I mean, which
yeah,
thank you for serving as a cook, but it's just people don't know the full story, and it's the same thing with all the branches too. I'll just touch on when people think of Marine Corps, they think of, oh my gosh, you were in the action, you're rifleman, dude. You could be working on cash register someplace or working in admin, or they think Navy, or you think you're just on a ship. I was never on a ship. There are so many different things you do, or Air Force. People think, oh, you're just you're in an office, air conditioning. Well, there's pararescue. There's a lot of other Air Force elements that do a lot of things out, boots on the ground action, or the Army. So it's there's so much more to the story that most people are not aware of, and the politics of it that you touched on. Yeah, it's you gotta love it. What was going to pull? I'm looking at the comments here.
Pete Buttigieg did that. He was in Iraq, but he was in a air conditioned office and he was doing paperwork. So yeah, he was claiming that he was this, that, and the other thing. But again, it depends on where you're at. He wasn't
Yeah,
out there in the field. So a lot of people are BS. And then I have people go, "Oh, you were never active duty." If you go to the U.S. Naval Academy website, right there on the front page, it lets you know that midshipman officers who are just underneath an ensign, so it doesn't matter. I was a midshipman officer. I rated a salute from people who were master gunnery sergeants who had been in for 25 years and over. They had to salute me, even though I was 19 years old. I was still rated a salute. Not that I cared about that. As a matter of fact, I was really easygoing. Whenever I would step into a room, they would jump up, officer on deck, and salute me. I was like, listen, at ease, relax. It was really weird because these people were like much older than me. and they were standing up at attention and saluting me and kissing my ass. But then I noticed the psychopaths that I was with, the narcissists, they would make a game out of it. They were these plebes, is what we were called. We were like the lowest ranking officers, but nonetheless, we were officers and we were active duty. There's Jim Fetzer, Super Herpes, Russ Winter, Tranny Granny, Susan Bradford. All these are deceivers. They're Project Pogo agents. Their job is to make you doubt. But again, I'm sending you to where you can verify this. These psychopaths would walk in and out of a room just to make these poor old guys jump up at attention and then sit back down and then jump up at attention. They made a game out of it. I was like, man, just because you can doesn't mean you have to. You know, these are the guys who rape girls, who sexually abuse them because they're out on an aircraft carrier. Nobody's paying attention. There's no food. There's no water. There's no toilet paper. There's no tampons. Nobody's going to say anything if I rape you. And even if you do say something like what happened, which I was a witness, they just buried it. So yeah, there's a lot of crazy stuff going on right now in the military. Going back to, the topic of this show, if you're thinking of letting your son and daughter join the military, or if you're thinking about it, you're making a big mistake. That's all I could say. You're not protecting your country. That's all I could say. You're protecting the psychopaths that rule over us. So I didn't mean to go there, but
no, I agree with you as well. I come from actually several generations of military, and I don't look at it in the same way I did. And I think again, one of the books that really does it for anybody who's interested in going to the military is Smedley Butler's War is a Racket book that he published, which is just a really great diatribe he did on the powers that be. Because I do look at it now is that, if you're you have this is how I look at it. The very top is absolutely nefarious. And then the middle management, there are genuinely good people in the military, salt of the earth, people that are not aware of the grand scheme, but good. It's just like people in the banking industry or in bureaucracy. The lower middle management, they think they're doing their part. They're not doing crazy rituals or whatever, trafficking people. But yeah, the very top. So yeah, I don't look at it in the same way. And what was I going to mention? By the way, we've been going such a long time. My energy has actually waned. I'm almost so tempted to just go grab a little snack here just to recharge. I've been getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I've been getting up early again. I've been getting tired, probably because the sun's been going down. And so, but I'm doing good here. I've got my.
You can grab a snack. I'll keep your audience entertained.
Yeah, I've got my green, my super greens here.
So, nice.
I know I might run down here real quick. I'm actually really enjoying this because this is more of a very casual, relaxed, instead of this very buttoned up, whatever you want to call it, pre-recorded interview. Yeah, I might step away here for just a moment, just to recharge, just so I have my energy here. But
I'll step into the chat and I'll answer
look
some
in the chat.
questions from the audience.
I'll be back here real quick.
Yeah, go ahead, and I'll check into the chat here. Let's see what we got. Okay, I've been dropping a lot of crap this session. Says PBS Love. Let's see if there's any questions. Belmont East, Palo Alto, Hillsborough, Fountain Valley, Los Altos, Mountain View. I don't know what that is. That's not a question, but welcome. You. Let me see. Let's see if there's any questions here. Yes, so many stolen valors. It's so funny sometimes when you can spot that straight away. Yeah, that's just, again, people don't know how to date anymore. I mean, it's just really sad. If you got to enter into a relationship with lies, that's a really bad start. It's difficult to get a man to understand something his paycheck relies on, his not understanding. The thing about that, especially if you're working in the banking industry or if you're a police officer or a nurse or anything, that's inexcusable because the nurses knew and the doctors knew what they were doing during the COVID. And yet they said they were just doing their job. So I don't give these people a pass. And we have to stop giving these people a pass. We need to start holding people accountable. That's another reason this is bad. Like if your mom's a nurse or your dad's a doctor, or your brother's a cop. I mean, you know these people. If they're running around, because from what I understand is the moment a baby is born, it comes out of the vagina. That's where it comes out of, folks. I mean, I don't know what to say. If you think that two men can have a baby, you're delirious. They spank the baby, so they shock it, and then they inject it with vitamin K and all sorts of stuff already, which destroys the natural immunity. So yeah, and then what do they do with the circumcised leftover and the umbilical cord and all this other stuff? There's like a lot of stuff that just like the blood from the umbilical cord really needs to stay with the child. That is important blood. There's a lot of things that happen. You should see the interview that I did with I forgot her name. Oh man, that's terrible. Janice Barcelo. Check it out. Janice Barcelo, Jeanice Barcelo, Barcelo. Check out the interview that I did with her. It's got over 220,000 views. It's shocking, really, what she points out about the birthing and the scarring. It's we come into this world traumatized, and then we wonder why we suffer so much, because you come out of the safe space of the womb, and then you have to deal with people spanking you and cutting off your foreskin and injecting you with stuff, and it's just horrible. And then these people who are paying mothers to give birth for them, the gay couples, they're stealing the connection of the child with the mother, and the milk downloads information from generations. So anybody using powdered milk, when I lived in China, I met the guy who became a billionaire because they had a powdered milk scare. In China, they're not afraid to put plastic in rice and in sugar. Now they're selling it at Walmart. If you actually strain your rice, you'll find some plastic in it. So these people don't care. Again, I know people are, oh, well, I just work at the factory. No, you know what you're doing. You know what you're doing if you're a cop. And instead of arresting Fauci, you're arresting somebody for a broken taillight. I mean, I have guests on my show who are going through all sorts of horrors in their life because they didn't have a driver's license, because you really don't even need a driver's license. You don't even need a registration for your vehicle. I mean, all these things, the insurance, they're fleecing everybody. You don't own your house, by the way. Check your mortgage. The bank still owns it, and they could take it away. So, yeah, and then even if you own it outright, you still owe property tax. And then they keep raising the property tax, and then you can't afford the property tax. Well, you know what? We're taking your property. So, yeah, I mean, the quicker we realize that we're living a lie and we get rid of the people who have been making us live this lie, from the teachers to the nurses to the doctors and everything, we have to start a new society, because this society is toxic. We've got a cancer. I know this is hard for people to understand, but if your mother is a teacher and she's teaching students that two men can have a baby, your mother's the problem. If your doctor, if the doctor is your husband and he's like, I don't know, cutting off women's breasts and then giving them a fake penis, your father or husband is the problem. You can't do this stuff, people. I mean, I can't be, the fact that we're even having this conversation blows my mind. I mean, it's just like we're playing Frankenstein here, you know? So anyway, welcome back, Christian. I'm glad you're back.
I just had some yogurt.
Nice.
Protein yogurt. So
I just watched the show. I'm sorry to be such a Debbie Downer. Turns out that like the stuff that's in yogurt is fake. The stuff that's in bread is fake. The stuff that's like the vitamins are fake. Like everything is fake now, man. I'm
you just got to embrace it.
I'm seeing videos of people with bread, and they put the bread underneath the water, and the bread is like a sponge. I'm like, what? That's not bread. And then they're like, it's underneath the pouring water, and they're pressing, and the bread doesn't dissolve, man. I'm like, holy cow! And then olive oil isn't real olive oil. Honey isn't real honey.
Avocado is in avocado.
It's
That's been a
like
thing with the avocado oil.
I've seen these watermelons in the United States. They're like rubber. I'm going, what the heck is going on, man?
Yeah.
It's
No,
insane.
it's true. You have to really look at the ingredients. You almost have to like pick and choose your poison. What was I going to comment on? Yeah, it's they're doing a really good job. There's so much crap in what they put in everything.
But it's in
You,
the United States, by the way. I want you to know that a lot of the stuff that's in the food in the United States is illegal in other countries.
yeah,
So again, I'm wondering, why don't the people fight back? The whole world, I'm telling you, I'm looking from the outside in. When I was living in China, now I'm living in the former Soviet Union. I've lived in Costa Rica. Everybody's rooting for the United States. They love you guys. They love the people, but they're like in shock. They ask me, they go, why don't you people do anything? I go, I don't know, man. I'm like, I'm trying to wake them up, and they think all I get is heartache for this. Like you said, I don't even know, why I'm doing this. I should have just sold out. I've been offered so many times to just sell out. Oh, by the way, going back to the DeBilson thing, talking about selling out, because I started this story and then I got sidetracked. So DeBilson found out that I had escaped China and that I ended up in the former Soviet Union because I went on SGT report, and he saw the show and he's like, hey, man, listen, I'm having a cigar right now with General Michael Flynn. I'm at his home in Naples, Florida. He goes, if you can get some artwork to me, he goes, I've got my gallery in Delray Beach, Florida, and I'm connected with Kash Patel. And he started naming off all these people in the Republican Party, the MAGA thing. He's like, we'll hold an auction for your artwork so that you can have enough money to fly back safely and not be left homeless. So I was like, wow, great, thank you. So I contacted somebody, and I had them bring over 3 works of art that are large and oil and have provenance. They've been in movies and stuff like that. So they were each worth about $50,000 each. So that would have set me up. I would have been able to fly back. I would have been able to not be homeless and start my life over in the United States. But then he finds out, because I had guests on my show who told me that she was related to PJ Shrance, who was the bodyguard or the Secret Service or whatever for Donald Trump. And I did all the research. You could go on my page, type in PJ Shrance, General Michael Flynn, William DeBilson, and you'll see the photos of PJ Shrance with Vice President Mike Pence, and he's in Air Force One and everything. So he was connected to General Michael Flynn. So this girl, Amy, I think her name was Amy Mann. She sends me the information because I don't just let guests come on and then just start spouting stuff. I want proof. And lo and behold, yeah, you could find out. PJ Shrance, General Michael Flynn. They would hold veteran benefits, like to raise money for the veterans, right? At Mar-a-Lago, which is where Donald Trump has his place. And what would happen is they would raise $26,000. General Michael Flynn would be paid $25,000 in consulting fees, and $1,000 was left over for the veterans. So I guess every veteran got a buck, you know? So I was like, wow, okay, that sounds like money laundering. And people were starting to notice. It wasn't just me, it was like a lot of people were noticing this. And then she says that he was also involved in human trafficking and child trafficking. And I was like, okay, this is getting kind of serious because this is General Michael Flynn. He's in with Donald Trump. And he was also doing the America tour with that Clayton guy back during the COVID. So I was like, wow, I trust these people. SGT report and everything. These are people that I trust. And then I'm finding out, dig a little deeper, they're all part of this Project Pogo, deepfake revolution, to depopulate people, to lie to them. So then he has Nathan Reynolds on his show. claims to have been of the Reynolds rap family, part of the Illuminati. And he tells SGT Report on the show what I had said months before when I got blacklisted from the show. And you could see this if you type in SGT Report Victor-Hugo, William DeBilzen. I say, hey, listen, I just found out that General Michael Flynn may be involved in human trafficking, child trafficking, and money laundering. And my God, SGT Report host started screaming at me. Was like, oh, well, you can't be saying that about him. I'm like, yeah, but dude, have you seen the evidence? Oh, yeah, but General Michael Flynn, and he's like, go, because we need heroes. Or he was covering up for him. Because then Nathan Reynolds goes on the show, and Nathan Reynolds says, yeah, General Michael Flynn is one of the bad guys. He's involved in all sorts of stuff. And so then Nathan Reynolds comes on my show, and he confirms it on my show. Now, here's the thing. As an investigative journalist, which, by the way, I'm registered as an investigative journalist. I studied master's level for journalism at Florida Atlantic University. So I know what I'm doing. I start noticing that the amount of money that you pay for a child when you're child trafficking is $25,000. And the reason why they do $25,000 is because you can traffic a child way more than you can drugs. That's why child trafficking is worth more than drugs. Because once the person snorts the coke or smokes the weed, it's done. But if you sell a child for $25,000, you stay under the radar. And then once that child is done being sexually abused or tortured by that one person, they make another $25,000, then they make another $25,000, and then you can make a lot of money off one kid. And then once you're done with the sexual abuse, then you can sell it for snuff films, because then they kill the child. So that's some more money. And then after you're done killing the child, then you could actually make money by the body parts. You can sell the adrenochrome, the blood, the organs and stuff like that. So then you have that. And then you sell it to the meat, because I got news for you folks. The USDA allows 2% of human meat in all the food. So you can listen to Rabbi Finkelstein. He admits that, yes, they send the meat to McDonald's and other fast food places, and they put it in the ground beef, and you're eating Nancy, So, yeah, then I find out from William DeBilzen that he's going to extort me. I just sent them an email today letting them know, hey, man, listen, I'm not letting this go. Because he sends me emails saying that if I don't stop talking about General Michael Flynn, he's not going to sell my art. As a matter of fact, what he's going to do is he's going to charge me $200 a month for storage. So I'm like, wait a minute. First, you came on my show and you announced to everybody that you're going to be holding a special auction with all these famous Republicans, including Kash Patel and others, to help get me home. And now you're in writing putting it that you're extorting me because I won't shut up about General Michael Flynn. So then I start realizing, holy cow, the art world is where they do the money laundering. And how did I find this out? Because I met a guy who's a terrorist, because I'm in a no man's land. It's a place where it's like the Hotel Continental, if you've ever seen the John Wick series. This is where terrorists, snipers, mercenaries, and assassins come to vacation because they leave their weapons at home, and this is where they come with their families, because a lot of killers have wives, children, and grandchildren. So sometimes they need a break from killing people. And this is where they come. So I meet them, I talk to them, and they share their stories with me because people just want to share their stories. I notice, I don't know, for some reason, they're always telling me like how they kill people. So this one terrorist befriends me. This guy's job, I never knew this was such a job. He sells jalopies to like those suicide bombers, which makes sense because you don't need to buy a brand new Tesla or a Mercedes Benz or even like a Range Rover or anything like that. You just need a car that's going to put the bombs in the trunk and in the back seat and in the side passenger seat, just fill it up with a bunch of like explosives. And then you just need it to get from point A to point B because it's going to blow up anyway. So I don't know how this guy finds these people, but his job is to sell jalopies to like suicide bombers. I was like, wow, man, there's a job for everything. So then he says, hey, Victor, listen, I know these people who are involved at the highest levels of central banking. These are the people that you never meet because money never sleeps. And I learned this when I was in Asia. When the stock market opens in Asia, it closes, then it moves to Europe, and then that closes, and then it goes to Wall Street in New York, and then it opens up again. So the money has to move because there's trillions of dollars that are floating and it has to be accounted for. So one of the ways that they account for it is through art. So this guy also knew my story. He's like, hey, listen, I heard you're here and you're stuck here and you're trying to get back home. He goes, I'm going to put you in contact with this guy who works in Asia. And he is one of the top guys in the central banks. He keeps the money moving. He wants to buy your art because he's already heard about you appearing with Jeff Koons, and we can market you really well. Your art, we're going to make you rich and famous beyond your imagination. We're going to totally market you, which is what they do to these Project Pogo guys. You know what I'm saying? Oh, Dan Bongino, we're going to make you the FBI chief. You're going to look the other way. You're going to go on Joe Rogan's show, who's another shill. I posted the video on my channel where he literally looks into the camera and says, CIA, if you're out there, hire me. I'll lie to my own mother. I mean, who does that? Joe Rogan does that. Right after that, he gets a $200 million contract with Spotify. So he has Kash Patel on his show and Dan Bongino, and they're both looking like deer in the headlights. And they're like, oh, no. Jeffrey Epstein killed himself, and nobody on the Epstein list is, guilty of anything. So forget about it. Move on, And now he's back on, and he gets 100 million of views on his stupid show, yelling at everybody, telling everybody that they're horrible for not believing him. So anyway, this guy puts me in contact with this guy, and he's like, this is what we're going to do. I can't believe I'm talking to this guy, by the way, because this is the guy that you're not supposed to meet these people, but I met these people. And I don't care if people believe me or not. Listen, you could doubt me all you want. I don't care. I'm not talented enough to make this stuff up, okay? He's like, listen, what we're going to do is we're going to buy your art. We're going to start off $32 million, okay? You're going to keep it for a week. We're going to open up a bank account for you. Don't worry. We got lawyers. They'll protect you. You're going to keep the money in your bank account for a week. And then after that, you're going to send us 30 million. You're going to keep 2 million. I'm listening and I'm like, wow, this sounds sketchy as all fuck. This doesn't sound right. So then he goes, and then next month, we're going to buy some more artwork from you. Now that we've got it on the record that we bought stuff, it's going to be different buyers, of course. Can't be the same buyer. They know how to, listen, art is money laundering. So they said, okay, we're going to give you 35 million for the next one. You're going to keep 3 million. You're going to give us back 32 million. And then you go, by the end of the year, you're going to be like a multimillionaire. Don't worry about it. So I didn't take it. I didn't take it. I knew that it was like, I didn't take it. It's wrong. Okay. I'm not saying my art isn't worth $32 million, but not coming from these people. So then I realized, okay, I see what's going on here with William DeBilzen now. And like I said, I emailed him today and I CC'd people on it because, yeah, there's people still following this developing story. I'm being extorted by William DeBilzen in Delray Beach, Florida, because I won't shut up about the allegations that General Michael Flynn is involved in human trafficking, child trafficking, and at the very least, money laundering. Because that's what William DeBilzen is doing. He's laundering money through his Delray Beach gallery. So, yeah, there's some serious stuff going on, folks. And if you're wondering how the money gets laundered, it's like that because people are buying a banana stuck on a wall with duct tape for millions of dollars. They're literally goofing on you. They're making, and then of course I was with Jeff Koons, and Jeff Koons sells his stuff for hundreds of millions of dollars. And no offense, but it's crap. And I'm not saying that, out of jealousy or nothing like that. Look at Jeff Koons' work. I mean, Give me a break, man. So it's just unbelievable. And part of the reason why I know this stuff is because for whatever reason, like I said, I told you, uh, I had the divine inspiration. God, the creator, spoke to me, said, you're going to be a modern art gonzo journalist. You're going to keep a diary of your world on canvas to let people know that the justice system is protecting pedophiles. I didn't expect that. I walked into a court and I found out that Judge Donald W. Heffield, look him up, he is the guy who presided over the Sweetheart Deal case. He's still holding back the evidence from the witnesses. They've asked him, you've got to release that evidence. He says no. Why? Because they're protecting the pedophiles. That was the case that guy who always shows up on TV, the Jewish attorney. What's his name? He's like, oh yeah, I was on Epstein Island, but I only got massages from adult women. I'm like, yeah, dude. Okay. What's his name?
Trying to
That
think
attorney?
of.
He's always on Fox News and he's always on these channels.
I know the name. I know the
Dershowitz.
Face. Yes,
Dershowitz.
yes.
Dershowitz. Yeah. Oh man, that was his attorney, and he got a sweetheart deal with John Acosta, who was involved with Trump. I mean, people, they're all connected. Is what I'm trying to tell you. I'm finding this out because I am an artist. An artist, man. I've met Leonardo DiCaprio. I've met Russell Simmons, Lionel Richie. I've met Lady Gaga. Man, I've dodged so many bullets, dude. You know, Lady Gaga just admitted that meat suit that she wore, I think it was to the Grammys, was made out of child skin. She was telling people originally that was made out of like I don't know, cow meat or something. But no, now she admits that it was an initiation ritual and a humiliation ceremony. They made that meat suit out of children's flesh, and she wore it in front of everybody, and you could see it to this day. It's there. People are wearing kids to the Grammys. That's the world we're living in. And of course, she said she did it because she's an artist and she figured it was art. Yeah, right. Can you imagine? They come up to me, hey, Vic, we want you to wear this tank top and this underwear. It's made out of kids. Here's some money for it and you'll be famous. I'd be like, what? Are you serious? No, these people, man, they're like, sure, I'll wear it. Kids' underwear made out of kids, you know? Man, it's sick, dude. I wish I was lying, but I'm not.
Well, I believe it. I believe it as you dive further and further down this labyrinth or whatever are you going to call it, you realize it is actually very dark. It's very, very dark. I'd actually like to have someone on my show who is familiar with the dark web, just because I want to hear people's take on it. But yeah, I look at it, there's just whole other world that goes on that is out of sight, out of mind. People have no clue what is going on, how things actually operate. And a lot of people will go their entire life completely unaware. That's crazy to me. Just completely unaware. They'll go their whole life. You know?
Well, you heard of that musician? I think he was in a band called the Scorpions. I may be wrong which band it was, but he was invited to this mansion party in Europe somewhere. I think it might have been Belgium, because they have these parties in castles over there. He says it was a bunch of people, all these like rich and famous people, and then they bought out a woman and they murdered her in front of everybody. And then they were, I don't know, drinking the blood and slicing her up. And he says he couldn't believe it, but he was there. So, yeah, man, like that's why you got to be careful sometimes, too, when you're an artist. Because I heard Lady Gaga was saying Leonardo DiCaprio, he loves eating human flesh. Apparently, these people, they were talking about that with the Epstein.
Well, J.R. Sweet, I don't know if you've seen him, but people can watch J.R. Sweet's interview on Imagination Podcast. He also did one on Seth Holhouse's show, Man in America. I think he touched on DiCaprio as relates to, in particular, I think seeing him underneath Disneyland, the labyrinth of underground tunnels and infrastructure that they have there. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Again, I think anybody who's anybody, it's not done naturally. There was some exchange, or they're part of these families. You're either a part of the bloodline family, or you get incorporated into it. And yeah, that's how I look at it. I'm not implying that someone can't become successful in this world, or to have to some degree of fame and not be part of the club. I'm sure there are wrinkles of that, but I think the big heavy hitters, they are they've either consumed another person, or they have been witness to it, or have observed it. And yeah, that's there's a number of interesting books. I don't have my book because I actually just lent it out to somebody, that Makia Freeman's book, but he has a number of survivors that he references and talks about. And I mean, you just type in SRA on YouTube, yeah, it'll pop up.
If people are
Yeah.
wondering how it is that I've met people like Leonardo DiCaprio and Lady Gaga, when I told you the story about my living at the Grandview Palace, which was owned by the serial killer spinal surgeon Dr. Charles C. Edwards, that was called the Grandview Palace. It was in North Bay Village. You could look it up, newspaper headlines. I was in there. And so I would do shows with the modern art music movement, the fusion of art, music, film, fashion, literature, and education, fostering peace, love, and compassionate wealth worldwide. You could look it up, it's trademarked. And I'm also a filmmaker. I directed the award winning film Crackhead Jesus the Movie, which is also trademarked. You could look that up. So I was trying to get Leonardo DiCaprio to be in the movie. So I would go to famous nightclubs. I met P. Diddy also, because in South Beach, as an actor, as an artist, I would be allowed into all these clubs. And so I would be hobnobbing with these people. So I asked Leonardo DiCaprio, with my manager that was there, if he would be willing to be part of Crackhead Jesus the Movie. And so he has all my information and everything. And when I met him, he was actually didn't even look like Leonardo, because he had a full beard. He looked like a homeless guy actually, but he was super nice to me. And of course, he was surrounded by all these women, because it doesn't matter if Leonardo DiCaprio looks like a bum on the street. Women just want to be around fame, which is incredible. So yeah, it was a nightclub called The Wall, and then there was another nightclub that was like I think it was Live, LIV. And that's where I met P. Diddy. And it was funny because there's a photo of me and I'm holding up, because P. Diddy was DJing at this club. So I got right up there, right next to him, and I give him a Crackhead Jesus is Coming sticker, because I wasn't allowed to. I was trying to do TV commercials to market Crackhead Jesus, the movie. They said, oh, you can't do that. That's too controversial. So I said, okay, well, what can I do? They said, they couldn't think of anything. So I said, can I do like radio commercials? Can I sponsor the traffic and the weather? This traffic report sponsored by Crackhead Jesus, and then lead people to the website, crackheadjesus.com. And they said, well, yeah, you can do that. So it was hilarious, because I did this during Rush Limbaugh and all these other conservative Republican shows, talk shows, and people would be sitting in traffic and they would be getting their traffic reports and weather reports from Crackhead Jesus, which was great. So then I figured, okay, let me do billboards. And I would put billboards up along the side of the road while people were stuck in traffic. It would just say, Crackhead Jesus is coming. And he doesn't pull out. So the executives at a place called, what was it called? I forgot the name of the company. But it was a perverted name. And they said, you can't do that. That's offensive. And I said, yeah, but the name of your company is, and I forgot what the name of the company was. It's an offensive name, and it's a big marketing company. Anyway, I got it done. Oh, what they said was, what I ended up doing was a marketing campaign during spring break and during Easter. And it was all over the cabs. And it said, Crackhead Jesus coming, and he doesn't pull out. And then it had the website. So people, when they would travel into Florida for spring break from all over the world, they would see the cabs with that, and they would take photos of it. So they said it was one of the most successful marketing campaigns. If the internet and all these websites were around back when I did this, it would have been viral. But people didn't really have the cell phone capacity that they have now, where they have TikTok and all this stuff. I'm trying to remember the name of the marketing company because it was so funny when the guy told me that the it was too vulgar. I said, "Yeah, but the name of your company is this something like."
Oh my
I'll
gosh.
remember it during the show,
Yeah.
and then I'll let you guys know. But it was so funny to see all the executives' faces because I'm
Hmm.
in this meeting and they're all trying to convince me, and I just said that. I said, "Yeah, but look at the name of your company," and then they were like, "Yeah, you got a point."
Yeah.
So yeah,
Well, we
and then I forgot where I was going with that story, but basically what happens is if you're an artist, you end up mingling with these people. They invite you to their homes sometimes. Like when I lived in Beverly Hills, I met Andrew Dice Clay, I met Bill Maher, and they were like, "Hey man, come back to the house and you can we can hang out together." Sometimes I would go, but yeah, a lot of these people, they're weird, man. That's all I can say. And so I always trust my instinct, and I usually leave. When things start getting too weird, I'm like, you know what? I'm out of here.
that'll take you far in life, of course. That instinct. Question here from Pio, a trust
Oh,
fan. Oh
I
yeah.
remember the name Cox Communications. I don't know if you guys know of. There's COX
Yes,
Cox.
I know Cox. Yeah.
So the guy's like, he's like, crackhead, Jesus is coming, and he doesn't pull out. We can't do that. That's vulgar. I said, what are you talking about? Your company's name is Cox. The guy was like, yeah, you're right. That's how you get them, man.
Hmm.
I mean, Cox, give me a
Yeah.
break. Who didn't think of, hey, man, maybe we shouldn't name it Cox? You know, I'll never forget that, man. You should
I'll
have you
guess.
should have seen their faces. They were like, I'm sitting there, I'm holding up this campaign. I'm like, listen, crackhead Jesus is coming and he doesn't pull out. They're like, yeah, but that's. I said, no. What it means is he doesn't quit. He's not a quitter.
Yeah.
They thought of it as like the sexual thing. He doesn't pull out. Of course, it's a double entendre. But don't tell me that that's offensive if your company's name is Cox. That's all.
Well, yeah, yeah. There's we could spend hours covering a lot of these different topics here. Let me. I'll do one more question here, and I don't know why my energy is. I got to go walk around. Or maybe it's. I mean, it's pretty cool in my room right now. It's. I mean, it's a 96 outside, but it's cool. Anyhow, it's. Okay. So, question is: does Victor know Harry Vox, and what is his opinion about him?
Harry Vox. That name
Yeah.
sounds familiar. Uh, I can't remember who he is now. I know the name Harry Vox. Who is that? Do you know?
I have no clue who that is. Yeah, I don't know.
Is he a singer or
I
is
was I'm
he?
actually have it pulled up right now. It looks like he has a Odyssey channel, about 3,800 subscribers. He's got longer hair. I've never heard of him. So okay. He might be someone you might be interested in having on or talking to.
Is he the guy who he goes on and he definitely I think he names the Jew.
Yeah, I
If
think
that's
so.
that
Yeah. Yeah.
guy, if that's that guy, I've invited him on my show a number of times. I've never heard back from him. And I interviewed someone who knows him and asked her to put me in contact with him. And still haven't gotten in contact with. Yeah, I think I know who you're talking about. Harry Vox. He is unashamed. He's a musician as well, so he is in a band. But I respect his work. I think he's got guts, and he's welcome on the show anytime. If any of you can put us together, feel free. My email address is vhviipress at msn.com. There's a question here about what you think about Michael Yon's cooperation with Alex Jones, why he is doing that. You can go to my Rumble channel, Victor Hugo Art, Victor Hugo Art News. I asked him that very question when I interviewed him on Friday, and he answered it. So if you really want the answer to that, like I said, go to my Rumble channel on Victor-Hugo Art News. I just posted that a couple of minutes before coming on this show, and he lays it out for you exactly what he's doing on Alex Jones. Because during my live stream with him, somebody in the audience said Michael Yon is not to be trusted. He's a shill. He's a controlled opposition. He goes on Alex Jones's show. And I asked Michael Yon that question straight up. And again, the reason why I do this is because you could tell a lot by the people's expressions. And I welcome questions from the audience that are hard hitting like that because you are part of the show. So when I ask guests questions from the audience that are not easy to answer if you're a liar, they expose themselves. In the case of Michael Yon, he answered it perfectly. I believe him. I respect his answer. And if you want to know, hear it from him. You can find it on Victor-Hugo Art News on Rumble. It's right up there. I just posted it a couple of hours ago.
Well, you beat me to it. I was good.
I respect Michael Yon. I think he's one of the good guys.
Yeah, I do too. I do too. I feel like anybody with a massive following, I'll just say an arbitrary number. Let's just say, a couple million, a million plus. Yeah, I'd say if you have pretty much over 1 million followers / subscribers, you are not over the target. You are not covering truth. You might be covering some partial truths. You might be kind of giving little appetizers, but you are definitely not doing it because, as I shared with my folks this past weekend, I said, do you really think they're going to have somebody with 5 or 6 million views, former CIA, former been on TV, former ex-military, whatever? Do you really think they're going to have you? The powers that be are going to let you have a platform, to have a large platform like that, espousing truth? Of course not. They're going to shut your ass down in a heartbeat. You're going to be shadow banned. Your sponsors gone completely. So anybody that is remaining, that is part of it, they're either gatekeeping information, or they're completely avoiding such topics, which is doing you, the viewer, a disservice because you are totally bereft of other points of view. You're not given the full scoop on things, and you stay stuck in the matrix, like the blind leading the blind. Or they're part of the Project Pogo / Controlled Op Limited Hangout. That's how I look at it. That is to me the litmus test, because like people espousing truth, they are not known. They're people that are not known. I mean, look how hard it is for people to even find us or find information. It is not abundant. It's done that way for a reason. So, but a lot of people don't know that.
By the way, I think that's going to change because as more people wake up, and I'm noticing, I don't know about you, but as shadow banned as my channel is, the numbers are going up. They're not going down. Somehow people are finding out through word of mouth, which cannot be censored. I hear reports from people telling me that they were standing in line at the grocery store and the person in front of them at the checkout counter was watching my show on their cell phone. And then the person was like, hey, listen, you watch Victor-Hugo too? And he's like, oh, yeah, man, I watch every show. And then I had another guy tell me that he was in the middle of nowhere. His car was stuck. He called AAA. AAA showed up. They towed his car, and he was in the passenger seat with the tow truck driver, and he was listening to my show on the radio. And then they had a whole conversation like, oh, man, how did you hear about Victor-Hugo? And then one time I called a 1-800 number to ask for help with the bank and stuff. The person who answered the phone, as soon as they saw my name pop up, they're like, oh, you're Victor-Hugo. I listened to your show. How the heck is it possible that with supposedly 6,000 subscribers, I'm able to reach a guy in the middle of nowhere in a AAA tow truck, some dude in a grocery store, and I'm calling a 1-800 number and they know who I am? Give me a break, man. This is ridiculous, people. We are reaching millions of people. And then once the algorithms get fixed and they stop shadow banning us, we're going to reach a lot more because people are waking up and people are sharing this through word of mouth, which cannot be censored. So it's you in the audience. You're the ones who make the difference. And a lot of you don't think that what can I do? What can I do? You know what you could do? Download this show, upload it to your channel, share it, grab the link, put it on your Facebook page, put it on your X page, put it on your Instagram, put it on wherever. You are part of the solution. And once you realize we've got a problem and that you can actually make a difference, then they're beaten. That's the thing. There's too many people who are like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. Hit the like button, you know, uh, download this show before, if they censor it, at least you'll have a hard copy, and then post it wherever. There's sites on the internet. You can download this stuff. There's like a YouTube downloader. That's how you fix this, people. You're part of the solution. You have more power than you think.
Absolutely. Well, I enjoyed our conversation. We have these very I feel like it's very organic, very conversational, good flow, covering different topics. I appreciate everybody who watches, who has been following the work for some time, as well as Victor's. So you are appreciated, and once you're exposed to this stuff, you just can't look at it the same way again. And I always tell people, I said, hey, look, I don't pretend to feel like I have it down or whatever. Not at all. I just know enough to know that whatever is being put out there by the institutions or by media and all that, I know it's not to be trusted. So, and it's up, and of course, it's up to you if you have the time to go down these rabbit holes and go do your own homework, your own research. But I don't know if anybody can fully understand what is going on. I am of the opinion that there are people up in the apparatus that they do know what's going on. They have a good take on it. But, I'm just like anybody in terms of piecemealing it together. And I'll just share some of the books that I have that I think are interesting. I know you touched on Leo, so I do have some of Leo's works. This is one of them. Makia Freeman's another great one. Let's see. That is an interesting part that Christian just came across a lot of this information. Yeah. Most of this stuff I wasn't aware of prior to really a year ago. Okay. Another, I know you're going to like another Leo book. Yeah.
That's okay. Listen, I got no problem with Leo. He's welcome on my show anytime.
He does talk about the Sabbatean Francis. This is the Sabbatean Francis book. And then this is the Jesuit. And then this is another book I picked up. I haven't finished reading it. Sparky, Surviving Sex Magic. It's crazy, man. I mean, all these people that are in the occult, they're all into the sex magic. They're all into doing people from behind and releasing some Kundalini, whatever. I mean, they're into this shit, which is crazy. And these are all the big names, all the big name people. They're all doing this stuff.
Well, it's true.
Goes back, yeah, it is true. It goes back to Babylon or Egypt. Yeah, there's something with it's
sex is a very powerful weapon.
Yeah.
So that's why they don't want you to love, because love is the ultimate. And so what they do is, unfortunately, they totally manipulate it. They put it to the dark side. But yeah, the whole sodomy thing,
it's weird.
Impacts the spine. That's why they do it to the children before they're a certain age.
Was it Max Spires or Spear? I think it's Max Spires. He was talking about before he was killed how when someone is being anally penetrated, there's something with I don't know all this, the Kundalini or whatever, it does something, and that will obviously F up your mind, right? If you're a kid and you're having grown ass people do that to you, and you're in such pain, dissociative identity disorder, you split, the psyche splits, and then you go to a different place while the act is still going on. And apparently something is feeding off the loosh, they say, the energy. I don't know. I haven't seen it. I'm just sharing with people what I've learned. But yeah, it is crazy to me that people are engaged in this. I did show John Hamer's work. Should have him on if you haven't. He's great. Yeah. This is a good book. And then I just picked up.
Are there any questions? Are there any questions that you would have liked to have asked John Hamer that you suggest I ask him?
Shit, I need to give that some thought, candidly. Yeah, I would need, I'm having Flat Earth Dave on tomorrow. I think you have had him on.
Yeah, ask him, let him know. I'd like to have him back on my show. I'm going to send him the invite. I think he's aware of this already. Mm-hmm. You can ask him, why is James Fetzer your hero? I've been, asking him about that, and I want to have him on the show to ask about that. So James Fetzer, he says he's his hero. I'm
Gotcha.
curious. That's the guy who says I'm 87 years old
Hmm.
and that I have had several facelifts and Botox. And I'm like, wait a minute, man. You're the big. He's been caught with so many lies. He's also the guy who is claiming that I'm stolen valor, that I'm not a veteran, that I should be arrested, and all this stuff. So I'm like, Flat Earth Dave, man, do you realize by saying he's your hero, you're discrediting yourself? Because, I mean, are you aware of this? So, anyway, I've had him on my show a number of times. I consider him a friend, but I got to call him like I see him, man. You know,
Yeah.
like if you started saying some ridiculous stuff, Christian, I'd invite you on my show and say, okay, what's going on, Christian? What are you talking about here? You
Yeah.
know, that's how we have to keep it real, folks. You know,
Yeah. So I'm bringing him on because I've had people mention the flat Earth topic, and I don't know a whole lot about it, but I'd like to hear what is the argument for it. Does it have any legs to stand on? And then people talk about the Earth being hollow. So I'll hear people. I'll entertain these different ideas. The other book I picked up is by Fergus O'Connor Greenwood. I've reached out to him the second time. I have not heard anything, but I picked it up his book to take a look at it. Another one is by Jason Christoph. This is by Paul Chek, but Jason Christoph recommended it. Book is called How to Eat, Move, and Be Healthy. And I think Jason Christoph has some really great work. We're going to have him and Michael Yon on the same time. And then what are some other books? And then this is a really great book. I'll just always recommend it. Keep it next to me quite a bit. Is it has kind of a cheesy title, but I think it's befitting. It's called The Power of Your Subconscious Mind. This book was written in the 1960s. I think it was published in 63. And it was published by an Irishman, actually, who came over here to the U.S. and settled, I believe, in Southern California. And this is a great book for anyone who wants to learn about the power of your mind. And I am reminded that we all have a supercomputer, and whatever we're exposed to, whatever we hear, the beliefs we have, literally shapes our reality, and how you could change yourself quickly. And another thing I think is profound, I think I've pondered on it quite a bit, is that everything in our lives, the good, the bad, the ugly, fill in the blank, where we are with relationships or financially or a given area we're trying to work on, is a result of our own doing, whether we choose to accept it or not. We invite things into our life, and then sometimes people don't know how to handle such things that have been invited to their life of their own doing, but that is the truth. And I think that, I think people don't change until there is pain introduced to the system. And I think sometimes being in the comfort zone can be the worst thing, that can happen to people, is because people get comfortable. So, but this ties it on. I'm working on all that stuff. So yeah, those are the main books. I have a lot of books that I haven't read. I just buy them to support the authors, and I try and read through it when I can. But
I was
yeah.
going to say, are you a speed reader, or are you able to digest? Because that takes a lot of time to
Yeah,
read all those books.
yeah. I don't read every word. I was working on a master's program in history, and I learned a lot how to scan a book, how to read it, how to just because you do a lot of reading for anything in a history kind of thing. So I don't read every word. I scan it. I'm able to just scan quickly the pages that I feel are pertinent. And then actually a great way to read a book for those tuning in, if you want to read a book quickly, is to just go to the back of the book, go to the index, and the index will let you know all the main things, the main core meat and potatoes that are being espoused in that work. And then if you want to understand the author, obviously you can look at their footnotes or their bibliography, their references, but check those references out if you want to. Not everyone has the time. Those are different ways to critically think and evaluate the book. But no, I don't read it word for word. But I skim through the pages, and that's how I read. Yeah, I don't read. Yeah. Yeah. This is over 2,000 pages here. I've become increasingly busy in recent times.
Holy cow!
But yeah,
Yeah,
I have a lot of books. But again, I go through it. I go through what I can, and I love reading about these esoteric topics and the power structure, and just alternative takes on things. And so that's what I do. But at the end of the day, I only have so much time in the day, like everyone else. We all have 24 hours. Is what do we do with those 24 hours? And so,
Yeah, I don't
yeah.
even have time to watch movies that I've got to catch up on, like The Hunger Games. Everybody
Hmm.
tells me I got to see The Hunger Games, and I have them, but I
Yeah.
haven't had time to get into it. I'll tell you, the behind the scenes, these shows take a lot of prep because you got to understand who your guest is so that you can ask them questions. So you got to do research on the guests, and then you got to. I'm a one man show, so I have some help from Jane Ava Tracy, who helps me out in getting guests on the show and inviting them on the show. But then I have to build a relationship with the guests because you can't just like invite them and then never talk to them again.
Sure.
You want to build a relationship with them, and then I also have to like actually live. I have to go out. I
Yeah.
have to enjoy the day. So yeah, it's a lot of work, and sometimes I do 2 to 3 shows a day. So sometimes I
Absolutely.
do even 4 shows a day. So and then these are like 3 hour shows. So this
Yeah.
is my full time gig. But yeah, thank you so much, Kristen. I think you're doing a great job. I love how sincere you are. It shows. I think your audience appreciates that too. And I hope that you don't get corrupted because this is a very easy genre to get corrupted in. They're going to tempt you with the fame and the fortune, but realize we're surrounded by sharks and backstabbers. So hopefully you won't learn the hard way, but
Well,
you may have to.
well, that's why I have other means of keeping myself going without being reliant upon sponsors or other parties, so to speak. And then what was I going to add? And I definitely don't care about. I actually don't even care if. I know it sounds kind of counterintuitive, but I really don't. I don't actually don't have any interest in being known. And I have entertained and continue to entertain the thought of gradually retiring from this. I don't know when, but I do entertain it. Candidly, I don't. Um, yeah, yeah, I'm collecting my thoughts here. Yeah, I don't know about how I feel about just being in the public world, you know.
I
But
look forward to
yeah,
performing again as an artist on stage with musicians. That was my favorite. I love that. The energy of doing that. I'd like to go back on tour. I used to tour with bands and stuff, and that was great. So I still have the energy, I still have the capacity, but right now the world needs the truth, and that's why I'm doing this show because I have guests like you on who know things and share that with the audience. And really, that's I think the medium of this, I call it modern art gonzo journalism because I don't want to be affiliated with these alternative news media podcasters and so-called truth tellers who are all a bunch of liars. So when I say it's modern art gonzo journalism, I mean I'm just having a conversation with Christian White, and the audience are eavesdropping on this conversation. It really hasn't been an interview. We've just been talking back and forth as if we would if you were hanging out here and we were just having, a couple of drinks or whatever. So, yeah, it's a voyeuristic experience, is how I call the show Modern Art Gonzo Journalism, because we just share experiences that we've had. I enjoy this. This is very enlightening and opens my mind to new things. So I hope the audience enjoys it too.
yeah,
So thank you so
absolutely.
much, Christian, for having me on your show. I think your audience is great. And thank you to everybody who participated in the live chat. I know we didn't get to all your questions. If you want me to answer some questions, you can always come check out my shows at the Victor Hugo Art News or Victor Hugo Art Channel on Rumble. I do live streams every day, sometimes twice a day at 9 a.m. and at noon Eastern Daylight Time. And I will try to get, or you can email me at vhviipress@msn.com. I check all my emails. And if you're polite and you don't email me with death threats or uh, ad hominem attacks, I will respond to you. But yeah, the love you give is equal to the love you take, people. You love on me, I'll love on you.
There you go. And it looks like there was one last question here. Someone was really wanting to know. This is from Northern Hillbilly. The chat keeps moving. Ask him about that cup. I guess there was some cup that
Oh,
you.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh, It says I love you, but of course, people say that this is proof that I am Illuminati because the cup has the winking eye
Yeah,
on
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. Yep.
So that's okay. Listen, you could believe I'm Illuminati. You could believe whatever you want. I know who I am. If I was Illuminati, you'd never know who I was because I would be behind the scenes eating babies, you know?
This is when the camera glitches, then it shows your reptilian form.
Yeah. It's funny because, yeah, the ones who are doing this and they're either shills, controlled opposition, or they're actual real people like Christian White, Michael Yon, and myself. But again, I always tell everybody beware who you trust, be careful who you trust, doubt everything. Do your own research, folks. But yeah, it's just a cup. I need something to drink my coffee with. I might as well let the audience know I love you. And then I goof on people with the Illuminati eye and the so-called Kabbalah, which is actually the Moby. I needed this to get into the Moby concert. So have fun, folks. You know, have fun. If you want to goof on me, goof on me. Sometimes people make satirical videos about me, and if they're funny and they're good, I'll play them. You have to have a thick skin
Yeah.
in this arena. You
Yeah.
know,
Oh, yeah.
if you take everything personally, you'll go crazy.
Oh, yeah. 100%. 100%. Well, I'm going to get back to my Illuminati handlers here. I've got, I was going to say something else. Never mind. But all right. Well, be well. We got to do the Illuminati sign off handshake.
Yes,
Masonic.
yes, of course.
You know, there you go. You know, get some adrenochrome here later to refuel. All right. Well, I'll let you go here. Hey, everyone. Thank you for everyone tuning in. Really, really appreciate you guys watching the show, guys and gals. And be well. Take care. I'm looking at more of the chat here. It looks like we're okay. Signing off.
All right. Take care, everybody.